appreciate all the support that you've ever given us, and go Cog Prime.
And I want to make sure you get your trophy here as well, man. MVP, Sino, and his heavy, man. Make sure you hold on to it for me. MVP, raise it up for him, man.
It's just so incredible. I'm so happy. And, I've always wanted to tell my parents that I finally won this tournament. So, Mom, Dad, I finally won Worlds.
Feels like I'm in a dream. I haven't woken up yet. Hopefully, this dream never stops.
SMITE are going to be your Season 5 World Champions. This is their moment.
Untouched, unscathed, bow down to your kings, the Camelot Kings, champions of the world.
Happy Saturday, SMITE fans, and welcome into day number 2 of week number 2 of season 10. Oh my God, of the SMITE Pro League. We've got a triple header of SPL matches for you today. Of course, all of them best of 3s. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. We've got a great slate of action for you, and we've already had some good matches up to this point here this weekend, and things beginning to unfold now in the early portions of season 10 of the SMITE Pro League. Of course, we're all on the run-up to Masters in every single game. So important. My name is Dolson. Mifflin is with me. And Miff, we can talk a bit about the matches that we're going to get to look at here today because, look, we have got a good start to the weekend yesterday. One 2-game set, 1 3-game set, and looking forward to our matches for the rest of the weekend. Jade Dragons, Highland Ravens, that's quite a matchup to start off with. Leviathans, Gladiators right in the middle, and then Kings versus Hounds. And so, I think there's many different ways this day could go, and I think maybe in our last 2 matches it really depends on how the Gladiators and the Hounds show up against a couple formidable opponents.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I feel like the Jade Dragons need this heat check up against the now undefeated Highland Ravens. The Camelot Kings versus the Hounds, I feel like maybe the most one-sided on paper of today's matchups.
Yeah.
But this Atlantis Leviathans Gilded Gladiator set, that might be sneaky important. The Leviathans have been looking a far cry from their untouchable selves of the past, and the Gilded Gladiators sure is still struggling a bit, but building momentum.
Of course, tomorrow morning, the Hounds and the Gladiators will go up against one another. So should both teams be winless going into the day tomorrow, one of the two will start off their Sunday with their first win of Season 10 of the SMITE Pro League. A lot of stuff still to happen before we get there, though. And, of course, we've talked so much about Masters and the road to Masters and how these teams are all broken into divisions. And that's what's important here. You got the order side, the chaos side. As a reminder, you play the teams within your division twice, teams out of your division just once. And so it's important because tie-breaking scenario, those types of things, every matchup out of your division, that's your one and only chance to find a win against those opponents, whereas within your division, you get a second shot at them to even up the series score in the head-to-head. And Miff, you talked a bit about how important Leviathans versus Gladiators can be over in the Chaos side, because that's going to shake up what's happening towards the bottom of that division, because right now the Leviathans 0-3 have not found a win yet in this season of the SPL. They played 3 best-of-3 sets and are yet to find a win. Certainly surprising given the tenure and the star power on that team. And so the Gilded Gladiators, if they're able to sneak away a win, chaos in the Chaos division, needless to say. Now over in the order side, Camelot Kings firmly in control, but the Highland Ravens a chance to tie things up at 3-0 up top, up against the Jade Dragons, who are 1-1. And so it feels like over in the order side, Miff, you got the Kings and the Ravens who are really controlling things. And we're going to have hyper-important matchups for a variety of different reasons throughout the day here today. It's the Leviathans and the Gladiators. One of those two teams is going to get their first win in the season of the SPL. Kings play this afternoon, and it's the Ravens trying to keep pace with the Kings. And so already here, just day 2 of week 2, there's going to be some shifting or some solidification of standings. And I think that's a good place to start with the Highland Ravens, because this is a team, Haddix, Screammmmm, Ven, Hurry, BaRRaCCuDDa, and of course Coach Neil. I think expectations were a bit all over the place with this squad. I'm not sure anyone knew exactly how to feel. Ven and Bear have had a few lackluster years. They've gone on streaks. They've gone on runs with that Bolts kind of Renegades core. Couldn't get it done come tournament time. at least through their first few sets, this is one of the most convincing Ravens or orientations of this core that we've seen.
Yeah, I've all in on stock here for the Ravens. I've loved what they've put forth. I think maybe fans a bit low on this team coming into the phase, but every other pro team, every other pro player we've talked to have said Ravens are incredibly strong. Ravens are a team you need to watch out for, and I think I tend to agree, especially when you've got so much veteranship on this squad. I think you're right to bring up BaRRaCCuDDa in particular as maybe one we need to keep our eye on because he's had a very good year so far. Yeah. BaRRaCCuDDa in the past, not impervious to some quiet performances. You know, played the safer picks for a while when it was a Jing Hachiman meta. It seemed like that was generally his shtick. But nowadays, he has really stepped up his ability to even frontline at times, initiate fights, getting involved early on, looking for 1v1 opportunities in lane. BaRRaCCuDDa is revitalized, and he's going to hate that I say it. I've heard plenty of times that he doesn't love this narrative, I suppose, but it's reminding me of vintage BaRRaCCuDDa.
Rewinding the clock, right?
Yeah, rewinding the clock a little bit, back when BaRRaCCuDDa was top dog on campus, and now again has been getting a bit more of that. But the veteranship is still there. The BaRRaCCuDDa Season 1 of I'm always looking for the 1v1, I'm always looking for those opportunities, not quite there. It's been reeled in. Maybe it's his tenure in the league or his age, but he's now chose his fights very intelligently. He rotates around the map very, very well. Keep your eyes on BaRRaCCuDDa in this set. I guarantee a lot of the plays that the Ravens make are going to be off rotations towards mid, where a supposed 3v3 turns into a 4v3. So I'm excited to see what he brings. He's diversified his god pool. I know it's 136 some odd games on Jingwei, but in his last 6, only the one.
Only the one.
Since then, Chernobog, Izanami, Ishtar, Hachiman, he's really stepping up his game.
It does feel like so far, and we've only seen the 2 sets from the Ravens in the SPL so far, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's been the 2-0 against the Leviathans. Hounds take him 3. Bear's the type of player. He's always going to get you 2 or 3 kills, and then every once in a while he'll pop off for 5, 6, 7, something like that. And so rock solid for the Ravens, and that's exactly what this team needs, especially going up against the Jade Dragons. And I think you can have a similar conversation really about just the Dragons core in general if you're looking at Nika, Dardez, Vote. Now infusing with a couple different players. Of course, LASBRA and Mike joined that core 3 that we've seen for a few years in a row. Nothing, a lot of conversation around Vote. You've got PBM on your side now. You've got LASBRA on your side now. This is a big year for Vote to step up.
Yeah, I mean, Vote is a self-purported, just dedicated, true backliner. He wants to farm until level 20, then get involved in the team fight. That's not me evaluating his play. That's not analysis. That is straight from Vote's mouth. It's what he said to me. But when I watch him at his best, it's when he's also getting aggressive, when it's that duo lane, run it down style that he had with Neilma and now could do again with Mike. Loves to really get involved towards those neutral objective fights. Seems like Vote a little bit less likely to rotate all the way towards mid or towards solo when compared to BaRRaCCuDDa on the other side. But if the fight's on his side of the map, Vote generally has a very good job controlling it. But what I've seen from him recently is this departure from the auto attack style. It feels like Vote a little bit more so wants to play the ability hunters. In his last 6, 3 of which on ability hunters, Chiron and Marty twice. Transcendence build, play a spellcaster, hang out in that back line. Might be a byproduct of the compositions that they're running. We know that Dardez also likes to play Hunter and Double Hunter. They don't both generally go towards crit. Yep. So that might be the case, but feels like in a meta that is so dictated by these auto attackers that could just swing for 400 randomly 70% of the time. Feels like that might be a bit of a misstep for the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, and look, this is still a team we're gathering data on because they went to the finals of that kickoff tournament against the Oni Warriors. They got 3-0'd, then got 2-0'd by the Camelot Kings, and then 2-0'd the Gilded Gladiators, right? And so it's been sweeps one way or another for this team. And I think the concern against the Kings is it felt like a couple of those losses were, quote, vintage Oni Warriors from previous year style losses where the game just sort of happens to them and they get out macroed, get out farmed, PvE'd, things like that. Now against the Gladiators, much more controlling and dominant performance. And so that's really what I look forward to in weeks like this, where we've gotten a couple matches under our belt for each of these teams, and now we're really starting to build up the trend and expectations for the rest of the year. This one, very important, I think, in establishing those trends and expectations for both the Ravens and the Jade Dragons. And expectations at an all-time high for the jungler of the Highland Ravens. Of course, I'm talking about Screammmmm, who talked to us prior to this big game.
Game 1 versus the Levi's was a little sketchy because they stole the Fire Giant and made the game last a really long time, which we made a really good comeback late game. But overall, I mean, we've been improving as a team, and I think, you know, we're going the distance lately. I expected us to be at least 1-1. Beating the Levi's, you know, I think they came in a bit underprepared. I expected that match to be a little bit harder, but 2-0 after I saw how we were playing, I expected for sure. Our matchups versus the Dragons, I think we match up good into them. I think we are able to set the pace a little bit better than them. I think they haven't found their footing particularly very well, so I think it'll just kind of come down to if they fix their struggles this week or they haven't. Biggest threat on the Dragons is probably LASBRA. He's their playmaker, you know, the jungler. He gets a lot of stuff done on the map. He's historically a very... He does his own thing. He kind of mixes it up every now and then, so he's kind of hard to predict. Since we're playing them out of their division, I think it probably does hold a little bit of weight. I mean, having a win versus them is always nice, you know. Let's say you have some trouble in division, but you're 3-0 versus the other division. I think that, you know, that could definitely bump you up to, like, you know, second or maybe even first, depending on how you do in your division. So I'd say so.
Screammmmm obviously explaining the importance, actually, of in-division versus out-of-division matchups, and you only get so many opportunities playing outside of the division versus inside of the division, and separating yourself with those individual chances going to be so important. You know, I think this is one myth if we start to zoom out and just look at high level. I think just based on recent play, I favor the Highland Ravens just because they've looked a bit more squeaky clean than what we've seen from the Jade Dragons. However, I think the Jade Dragons and their tenure and their ability to effectively play a really good game of SMITE keep this one interesting. I think this could be a back-and-forth style of set.
Yeah, this one is going to be a decision maker for me as an analyst, or maybe the fans at home as well, on whether or not this Jade Dragons team is the real McCoy, whether or not they've really lined themselves up and are going to have a good phase one. Highland Ravens, I'm convinced already. Having seen the matchups that they played, be it a hard-fought battle against another top-seeded or projected top-seeded team, or, you know, just stomping out someone else, right? So I'm with the Ravens. The Jade Dragons, with a bit more of a tumultuous history so far this phase, I think still need to be solidified in my mind as a contender for that top seed. But and it feels crazy having to say that about this core of players. I mean, every single one of them individually has shown in the past and is still showing that potential to rise to the top. It's just whether or not the Jade Dragons are a cohesive unit. I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
It's going to take some time, we'd imagine, but could say the same for the Ravens, who have found a way to come together early here in Season 10. A couple 100% ban rates against the Jade Dragons. Is that true? Opwash every single time? That's wild if true. Yamoja, Guan Yu, Hercules, those notable bans. And the Martichoras also going to get taken away. And actually, so two of the prime carries now off the board, Myth, and it's the two carries we've seen Vote play. It's the Marty and the Cern. So Vote for the first time this season in official sanctioned SPL matches, of course, excluding the kickoff tournament, will play his third Hunter of the year, and the Jade Dragons take the Horus away. So initiation on one side, 80 carry plus support over on the flip side. Still plenty of value left open in that first pick.
Yeah, I mean, you project an Ishtar pick here for the Highland Ravens, just assuming with all the other meta hunters taken off the table, barring Rama. You might want that one for yourself, but we know that Vote is one of the most prolific ROM players in the league. So it could be that the Highland Ravens just decide to hold off on their selection and look a bit elsewhere. Other picks that I think I'm keeping my eyes on, the Hercules potentially, just feels like that god has seen so much success as of recent. So strong in initiation, nearly unkillable even with anti-heal, has high pressure throughout the early game and doesn't necessarily fall off towards the late. So won't catch me arguing if that's the direction the Highland Ravens decide to go. And with a couple of hunters available, could be the case. That wasn't exactly what I was expecting, though, Dave. The Nox in first slot. You could take the Jake away from BaRRa, but, you know, he's still left his mark on BaRRa, I would suppose, as Nox is locked in. It's one of Hurriwind's picks. It's certainly one that he could play very well. It's non-committal initiation. It's very good at disrupting the dive. If the Jade Dragons want to play an aggressive composition, I think one of the most slept-on facets of Nox's kit is her ultimate, just reducing the amount of damage that anyone can do. Makes it so difficult to do that mental arithmetic of how much you need to actually secure your kill. I like the pick, but this early, I think it could open you up to some potential counters. Things like the Hell for the cleanse, or even the Geb shield from a range, similar to the Ragnarok matchup with Fenrir. Just if you're single target CC, single target cleanses, or AoE cleanses generally find value.
Yep. Remember, the Hounds won game number 1 against the Highland Ravens, and the Highland Ravens won game 2 and 3 last weekend, and those both Nox support games from Hurriwind. And Hurriwind has been so key to this Highland Ravens team and their success, especially a lot of the questions around how consistent is Hurry going to play. Again, through the 5 games that we've seen in official SPL matches, excluding kickoff tournament, Hurry has looked very solid. A couple Umoja wins, couple Nox wins. And would love to add another Nox win here in game 1 against the Jade Dragons. Guan Yu for a little sustain.
No way.
This league seems keyed in on something with this Apwash. We saw it in support yesterday for Aurora. Wasn't a fantastic look. I'm not sure if this will be support. No, it won't be because we got Hurriwind. So maybe likely a mid lane Apwash. And Ven has played a variety of picks so far. Maybe one of the more flexible mid laners from the early indicators here in Season 10.
I like the Apwash matchup on paper into Hell, into Hercules. Like, hit them with a third ability, the Fleeting Breath. They're going to be stunned 2 or 3 seconds later, right? But what happens in those 3 seconds? What happens in the early game if there's a highly aggressive jungler on the other side? We've seen what that happens. And if you don't have beads, you're just going to die because Apwash doesn't exactly have the best tools to peel for himself throughout the early, especially if it is going towards the mid lane, and you have to assume it is, with Nox and Guan Yu locked in. It's got high damage output. You're going to have best secure on map, I think, just by rote. Setting up those corpses makes it very easy to weight the coin toss around Gold Fury and Fire Giant. But it's that volatile early game that really concerns me with Apwash. If you fall behind on this pick, you stay behind.
I love Serqet for LASBRA, and actually the last time we saw this pick, and I'll make sure I pull up the stats for actual analysis on this. 6-1-6 against the Kings, though that game was a loss, and then 6-1-10 in game 1 against the Gilded Gladiators just last weekend. Both of those matches, of course, because it was week 1 of the SPL. So I love this style of pick from LASBRA, and that's going to be so key this set, Myth, because if I'm looking at the Highland Ravens, specifically their carries, Ven has been on an absolute tear. This will be his 6th different god in 6 different games in the SPL so far here in Season 10. The most he's died in a game is twice, and it was a loss against the Hounds where he went 2-2-3. In 2 games against the Leviathans, he went 2-1-7, 8-1-4. And the last 2 games against the Hounds, undying at 7-0 and 5-0. So Ven has been a very hard player to kill so far this year. BaRRaCCuDDa, much the same, has died 0, once, or twice in every game that they've played. Gotta be priority. I mean, as it is in any team fight, right? Kill the carries. However, these Ravens carries have been very difficult to lock down, and so maybe that's what the Dragons are drafting for.
Yeah, I'm not certain that that's going to be an issue for the Jade Dragons in this one. I mean, immobile Apwash, Hercules is an initiator, Chernobog with a global slow, Serqet, one of the best dive picks in the game right now, especially against targets as squishy as Apwash. With the new crit build on Serqet, just feels like second item Deathbringer, you're online, let's get rocking, right? So got to keep your eyes on Ven in the early game. Certainly going to be a target on the side of the Highland Ravens. But that's not to say that the Jade Dragons haven't got a couple of picks that are also susceptible to dive. This Hell has struggled in the past and can continue to do so. I love the Guan Yu matchup there. The ability to close gap with Cavalry Charge, stick to her. Generally, that cleanse is going to stop the stun, but the slow afterward from Guan Yu's Warrior's Will might just be enough to allow the rest of the team to catch up. Naja as the lock-in. It's a lot of setup time for Apwash. Landing into 3 corpses doesn't feel so good, but this is a very high execution draft now for the Highland Ravens. And when we had seen from the Camelot Kings when they had locked in Nox was immense shred potential off Shadow Lock. That was the whole MO. Marty plus another ADC, stand still for a second, you die. I'm not seeing that style from the Highland Ravens, not just yet. especially considering how that damage starts to line up. If Naja ults somebody, it's essentially a banish. So Jingwei and Opwash are going to be spinning their thumbs, waiting for someone to land. Guan Yu is going to be trying really hard to create space as the sole, really the only frontliner for the Highland Ravens. Nox, for the most part, likes to play towards the center of the team fight. Naja, more of a solo agent unless he decides to build a bit more tanky. So Guan Yu's work certainly cut out for him, keeping the Jade Dragons at bay. This is a composition from ahead on the Highland Ravens that I think will not fall behind. Again, if they get control, it's going to be really hard to wrest it back from them. But similarly, if they fall behind, I'm not sure that the comeback mechanics are there either. This is a very, very high execution draft.
You had to will the Jingwei into existence. Remember we were talking about BaRRa, and you're like, yeah, only the one game so far. He's played it 158 times or something
Call
like
it
that.
200. Why not?
We got to be closing in on it. Any meta where Jingwei is slightly viable is a meta that that BaRRaCCuDDa is going to enjoy. One Jingwei game, it was the loss against the Hounds, though BaRRa went 2-0-2. That's what Jingwei will do for you. You might lose a game, but probably you're not going to die very much deep in the back line. I like the style the Jade Dragons are bringing, though. Hercules, I'm presuming, for Nika, and the ability to space control on that pick. Herc has been one of the most sought-after solo laners in the league here as of late. I think the ability for both of these junglers to get active, Myth, in that fight, the scrap between a Serqet and a Naja, is one that I will keep my eyes on. Rotation potential with the Chernobog, though, I think Vote versus BaRRaCCuDDa is certainly a conversation. Well, clearly it's a conversation we had just in the pregame desk. But in-game here as well, Jingwei is going to have the passive to rotate, but you got to go back. You got to kind of set that up. How difficult do you think Chernobog might make life here for the Ravens?
It depends on where the Jade Dragons elect to play. If it's hovering on the right-hand side, you're going to find more and more value, right? The further away from the dual lane the action erupts, the more this Chernobog is going to play in as opposed to the Jingwei. She can match some of that global presence, but won't be able to get there nearly as quickly. Has to go back to base, as you said. That takes 5 seconds. It's about 3 seconds to fly from base, and then however long it takes to walk to where you're actually going, as opposed to Chernobog, who's just jumping into an enemy's shadow. But as far as the direct lane matchup, I don't imagine there's any issues for either of them. Jingwei and Chernobog both have very good tools to deal with each other.
Remember, the weight of these matchups, it's still early, and there's plenty of opportunity for the team's wins or losses to shift around in the standings. But it's about establishing a trend, and that's what we're starting to get at with this Highland Ravens team. They're 2-0. The Jade Dragons, they want to hand the first loss of the year over to the Highland Ravens. Not going to get it done here in Game 1, but can start things off nicely. Let's find out who wins Game 1 with J-Mac and Trelly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave and Myth. Jumping into Game 1 between the Ravens and the Dragons, the undefeated Highland Ravens at that, Trelly, because this could be, with a win here, the third team in our league who starts off their season undefeated going into week number 2 of the SPL. It is J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug here for game number 1 between these two squads. Jade Dragons, Trelly, last time that we got to look at this team, we were watching long late-game sieges for the Jade Dragons up against, it was the Gilded Gladiators at that time, now facing off against the Highland Ravens. Feels like the Highland Ravens have built themselves a pretty decent comp to try and keep the Dragons at bay during sieges as well. Might be difficult if it starts getting to this late game for him, Trelly.
What do you think Mike's yelling about already? They haven't even spawned in yet, and he put his hands together, and he shouted. I think he was trying to hype up the squad.
He's getting them pumped up.
I think he was getting them pumped up, but what do you think it was? What do you think hypes up the Jade Dragons to take on the undefeated Highland Ravens?
Guys, they're birds. We're a dragon. We destroy a bird.
If that doesn't get you hyped, I don't know what will.
If I gotta go to a combat with a bird or a dragon, it's just a bird. You can just smack a bird and you're good. That's a dragon. That's hard to slay.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's the mindset here. BaRRaCCuDDa playing his signature Jingwei, this duo lane. To me, seems rather boring. A Nox and a Jingwei does not seem like they want to fight anytime early. They are playing for late game. They're trying to get late slotted items, and if I'm honest, it's not like Vote and PBM are going to be looking to fight that much either. They've got more options. Vote has the CC, as you can see, BaRRaCCuDDa taking a lot of damage. But you're really waiting for that level 5. When you can ult in, you can make those clutch rotations on this Chernobog. That's the kind of playstyle I'm expecting, honestly, from both the dual laners.
Venenu on this Opwash. BaRRaCCuDDa already has to go back to base.
He'll be
fine. The fortunate part of being a Jingwei is the quick reaction to be able to get back to base thanks to that passive. Haddix in danger of being pulled into the tower there for a moment, but there's the good benefit of being a Jing Wei, as BaRRaCCuDDa won't lose out on too much farm. A couple of creeps that do get into lost over the tower, but BaRRa still able to hit that level 2, teaming alongside Hurriwind, but vote hitting to the second he walks into lane. Able to get a nice little advantage and really be able to put BaRRaCCuDDa behind early on.
Yep, got to hold on to those beads, fearing the gank from LASBRA, so just eats that damage, backs up, and flies back in. Speaking of LASBRA, I think if we're looking at Scream and LASBRA, the Serqet, the Naja, both have that same style of early CC that can force out ganks, but LASBRA opts to go the beads, right? Doesn't have blink, doesn't have that aggressive Serqet mindset that we usually see, probably because of the fact that you're up against a Nox, a Naja, so much CC. Scream could be in some trouble here if the CC connects, and it does.
Oh my, the damage after. Maybe the most important part is the follow-up. The Jade Dragons strike early and strike hard. With the first blood for themselves, put on to Dardez on this Tiamat, a god that typically would be a little bit more late game slanted, but an early kill will definitely expedite that build.
Yep, this is the benefit of that Serqet pick. You know, you want to fight for those mid camps, but I think Serqet is one of those junglers that you never want to scrap with, especially if the follow-up is there. Dardez is clearly right over top with the Primordial Onslaught, and that's going to net first blood there for the Jade Dragons. What do you do in the meantime, though? You lost your beads if you're Scream, and that means you're probably not looking to gank anytime soon, but Scream is sitting around solo lane, but LASBRA is sitting behind Scream, possibly trying to get aggressive onto this Naja.
LASBRA plus Nika. Nika is low on mana, won't have much for the fight. In fact, uses the rest of what he has for the heal. LASBRA does get slowed down by the ring toss. I imagine that's part of why we don't see the commit there. But now it's PBM in danger, surrounded by 3. The corpse explosion with a triple corpse. Venenu will take that kill for himself. The Highland Ravens now on the board with their mid laner.
Mike is so animated already. We saw him screaming to get the boys hyped up, screaming about that rotation. My assumption there is that he did not know there was 3 coming over. Ven has a lot of burst damage, and of course, you gotta watch out for those heals. Anytime you're around an outpost, you could be stunning yourself. Doesn't really matter at that point. That was just a massive corpse explosion. But this outwash can be a threat. Just look at how many tick heals are on the side of the Jade Dragons if you're grouped up. Nika is going to have to watch that tick. And of course, Dardez is actually a sneaky difficult matchup. That Tiamat is going to be getting a fair bit of heals that you don't really expect. That they're just small enough to where you don't notice them. But once an outwash puts that 3 on you, you're going to be like, oh, I get a lot of different heals on this kit. So I think a sneaky good matchup here for Ven, as long as he's able to stay safe in the backline. And if Scream is taking the aggro from LASBRA like he has been in the early game, this outwash can go unchecked.
So far, this outwash, at least for Venenu's history, has been pretty good for himself. Now being able to go back to base, picks up his Spear of Desolation. Scream with the Jotun's Rats, maybe a little bit more activity between these two on the side of the Highland Ravens. Meanwhile, as mentioned earlier, Dardez getting that first blood did at least get his build online just a little bit faster. Slightly ahead in XP as well. Level 7 versus the level 6. I don't imagine that'll deter the Highland Ravens too much. Nika uses his only CC immunity to immune a boulder, and Scream, now with that information fed to him, is going to stick around this right side of the map.
Yeah, there's no ward coverage, but Nika realized, hey, there could be some aggression coming my way, so I'm going to stay near the tower line. Haddix isn't going to go for the cavalry charge either. That's usually the telegraph, right? If you see that horse, you know, hey, you're either trying to force out my ult for no good reason, or you're looking to get aggressive. LASBRA is going to take a fair bit of chunk damage there. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier in the week. When you see the Serqet, usually it's the full damage crit build, which I love. You do tons of damage, but think about how hard it is to dive an outpost. He just uses empty the crypts and sort of stands there. You have to just commit your body for half of your damage as a Serqet. If you're not building a little bit of tank stats, could be some trouble.
Scream, beads, pushed against the wall, but not going to use the ultimate. Now LASBRA's rotated over, will ult on top of Scream, who will get the sash on Nika, take him to the sky, but Scream's gonna die from the poison up top. Nika will make his slow descent to the ground, and that's enough time for Venenu and the rest of the squad to rotate in. A 1-for-1 trade. Scream goes down for Nika, maybe a little bit more with Dardez rotation in. From outside does a lot to Haddix, who's able to get himself out. The knockout only connects with Venenu. who uses a fast beads, and now Hurriwind out of mana. Vote on the way from the opposite lane, and it's a kill for LASBRA to be a 2-for-1 for the Dragons.
That is a good play, but Vote ulting in, I don't think that was necessary. That kill probably goes down regardless, and now BaRRaCCuDDa just gets some free farm over and left. I guess you'd rather use the ultimate and confirm the kill than not use it and the kill goes down. But Vera is able to steal away a purple buff and push a wave under tower. That's going to help out the Highland Ravens keep this gold lead in their favor, as you would expect just by nature of that rotation. The Jingwei doesn't leave much, right? She can back to base, fly in wherever she needs, and Ven is able to get his second kill. But now this Serqet, LASBRA's 2-0, stacking up that Transcendence. Dardez is still relatively fed. He's been able to stay even with this outwash so far. I'm thinking that this 2v2 in the Serqet and the Tiamat could be really dangerous here. The Jade Dragons have been playing their lead fairly well. And Screammmmm, unfortunately, is the one falling behind. This Naja has been trying to get aggressive and has been in the wrong place at the wrong time twice now.
Is this about the pace you would expect for these two teams, Charlie, the compositions they've built around it? Is this kind of the trend you imagine that this game would start out as for these two squads?
Yeah, I think that given the composition, given the junglers alone, I think early game aggression was the call. It's just the back and forth nature that I didn't expect, right? It's usually, okay, whichever jungler is going to get first blood is going to run the show, but I think Ven has been playing like a pseudo jungler, has this outwash. You see him run over to left to get one kill, run back over to blue buff to get the second kill. Now this outwash is not very mobile, but has been making those clutch rotations where Scream has, once again, sort of been a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, Scream now 0-2. His mid laner 2-0, though, to balance that one back out. Opposite side for the Jade Dragons, it's 2-0 for LASBRA, 1-0 for Dardez. He's already starting to do a lot of damage. Hurriwind feeling the pain of this Tiamat. He's been able to get a decent bit of farm and a kill to his name. Dardez, man, he just keeps throwing chunk shots over at Hurriwind. He's got the green buff, so he's got some HP 5. He's doesn't have any potions in hand, but can still sustain up with the wave. At least thanks to his starter, but already having to go back to base. Hurriwind probably not too happy, but not losing out on too much. Will instead actually full upgrade his relic. Emblem of Increasing Peril at 8 minutes in. Typically not a relic that we see fully maxed out this early though, Trelly.
Yep, seems like the slow's just going to get a ton of value here, Hurry thinks, and I think, you know, given the fact that PBM is a relatively immobile character, they're probably going to be trying to follow around this hell more often than not. Stop that healing. And whenever you see a hell, you want to target the healer first, or else everyone else is going to be getting that value, as well as it's just, hey, it's going to nerf a lot of the damage the Jade Dragons want to go for. Might be a hot take, but I don't think Hurriwind is ever going to stack up this cloak. It is so difficult to confirm all of these stacks on a Nox. It's going to take a while before that prophetic cloak gets online. I mean, he's ahead of PBM, I suppose, but it's not like the hell is going to be looking for too much poke damage either. If you're that close, hold that thought. LASBRA goes in for the gang. Gets the ultimate from Hurry. Not going to net anything else, but at least presence was shown on the left side of the map.
That was a fast reaction for Hurriwind. I don't know if you caught a brief glimpse of LASBRA coming through the jungle and maybe heard the animation for the taunt coming through, but quick response time from Hurriwind. Able to use that ultimate, gets them the immunity to avoid that taunt. But now it does lose out on the ultimate, at least for a short while. Meanwhile, LASBRA, he'll have that one back up pretty quick, but we don't see LASBRA sneaking over to that left side of the map. And maybe that's where I can kind of pose the next little bit to you, Charlie. You know, for LASBRA sitting 2-0, he's been able to get active against Scream more than anything, kind of capitalizing on his mistakes. If you're LASBRA right now, you're looking across at what the Highland Ravens have. I mean, there's a highly immobile Opwash in the mid lane that's been highlighted. Could be a good shutdown. Do you think that's where maybe LASBRA puts his focus, at least as the jungler? Do you think maybe puts a little bit more priority in these side lanes?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so difficult to try and kill Outwash at this point because of how much damage Ven has. You want to look at your own power spike and say, okay, can I 100-0 this Outwash before I get killed by the corpse explosion? And unfortunately, LASBRA seems to be going for FizzD. I mean, it looks like a Glad Shield. Yeah, Glad Shield next item here, so wanting to focus more on the side laners that actually use that physical damage. I'm staying far away from Outwash until I get the double dive, until Nika can make that rotation, or in this case, PBM may be helping out. It's not going to be easy, and Ven is just getting solo farm. He's going to be able to take these back camps too. The more damage the Outpush gets online, the less Serqet wants to get near him. I think you're just looking to get CC, get out, that sort of thing. Scream, however, could be a decent call. If you're getting close to this Naja, he's not able to return too much damage just yet. Went the Jotuns into the Shield of Regrowth, so gonna have some good CDR, some movement speed, that sort of thing. But LASBRA should be winning that 1v1 more often than not, barring some lucky crits.
Yeah, pretty much all the damage that it done. Haddix pushed against the wall. LASBRA jumps on top of the cavalry charge with his own ultimate. It's an easy picking for LASBRA and Nika, just bullying as a death ball across this map on the right side. The Jade Dragons can do no wrong when teaming up with LASBRA. Now Haddix has to sit on the grayscale and wait for his next opportunity to come back in.
Yeah, that was a ton of damage. As we said, 3-0 now on this Serqet. There seems to be nothing that LASBRA can do wrong as long as it's towards those side lanes. And 1v2, Haddix just didn't have any CC immunity. Used the ult a little bit too little too late. Trying to go for the kill on a Hurriwind now. Doesn't have that same level of CC chain, so Hurriwind's going to be just fine. We saw one of those lucky crits come through. I'm curious if LASBRA's going to continue down the crit tree. We see it sometimes where it's just the Envenom Deathbringer. And then with a Glad Shield start, I imagine it's that hybrid build. Yep, going into some magical defense now. And I think this is the correct call. Even at 3-0, even if you're doing this much damage, Serqet in a matchup like this needs to be able to survive, needs to be able to get her CC off, get in, get out. And the full crit build is not going to cut it. So maybe one crit item later down the tree, but some magical defense might be a priority here for LASBRA, and probably smart to build into it.
Especially as you were saying, if you want to dive that opwash, maybe a little bit of defense. Try and go with that route. So for now, we'll at least keep eyes on where LASBRA progresses with the rest of his build. Does he go into some of that crit? Things like the Deathbringer, as mentioned on the desk, even by us throughout the cast, has been a very common item now picked up on Serqet with the crit already given, with the passive of her fourth ability, that ultimate. So Trelly, we've got 4 kills for the Jade Dragons so far. It's been a very active game for them.
Yep.
But you could have fooled me with the state of the game. We're sitting at barely an 800 gold lead up for the Jade Dragons, 1100 XP. Not really much gained so far from these early kills from the Dragons. Does that maybe concern you about the momentum that they're trying to set as they're getting active, they're getting kills, but maybe not getting quite the rewards from them that they would hope?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the net worth, of course, I think BaRRa's been doing a great job. He never left lane. Obviously, Vote had to ult out early on, and because of that, he's fallen a bit behind. You can see the gold sort of just looking back and forth between these side lanes, and that's not going to be the biggest deal. We're going to really understand once these team fights come in when LASBRA is able to make that difference. It seems to be LASBRA versus Ven at this point, right? They both have tons of damage. One is much easier to kill, one is much easier to lock down, and that is, of course, the Outwash, but I think Ven's been positioning very well. And fighting in an actual corridor is where Outwash really struggles. In this case, Pyromancer started up. No one's going to be able to get here in time. This looks free for the Dragons.
Yeah, Jade Dragons get the first objective of the game, Pyromancer. And immediately the response, the Highland Ravens go to the Gold Fury. Vote dives in, but as soon as he does, Sash misses from Scream, who's got to use a little bit of CC up against him, trying to pat him away. Into the wall goes Vote. And on landing out, Vote gets taken out by BaRRaCCuDDa. Good placement there. Immediate ult out by Scream to get away from LASBRA. BaRRaCCuDDa's crit damage is just doing too much. And now Haddix is rotated in. Dardez will use the beads to get away from the stun of Haddix's ultimate. And the Highland Ravens, they found one pick and will march their way back to the Gold Fury.
And this should be free. They still have Empty the Crypts. Ven should be able to shut down this whole left side of the map. PBM's going to stick around, but it looks like not for too long. Can't step up for the steal. And that's going to be a free Gold Fury. I was surprised. That fight did not look like it was going well at first. Scream with the Sash, didn't have too much damage. Vote was able to stall in the wall, but using that knock-up right outside of the wall pretty much guarantees that Vote can't do anything on landing. And the crit damage, as you said, from BaRRaCCuDDa was too much. Vote was trying to stall for his team, but I think it was a massive rotation in from Haddix, able to stop and make sure that the Jade Dragons couldn't walk in. And LASBRA losing his beats meant he wasn't going to step up either. Highland Ravens are able to get the better end of that left side trade. But remember, the Jade Dragons got the Pyromancer. PBM is able to grab that Runic Bomb and climb ahead of Hurriwind. 2 levels now. This hell is able to get a full Bracer of Radiance, and that is going to be a threat.
Because of the rotation from Haddix, maybe similar to that of Vote earlier on in the game when Vote left the lane away from BaRRaCCuDDa to get a gank on the right side. Now Haddix going for this gank over to the left side. Nika stays inside of that lane. He's able to pull a little bit of ahead of Haddix in that farm department, as well as still BaRRaCCuDDa nursing that little bit of a lead he had over Vote. So slight XP. Seems to be favoring at least towards the Highland Ravens, but still fairly even between these two squads. Tend to trade out of the golden XP from both Pyro and the Gold Fury. We're back to an even game state. So where do they go now, Tro? I mean, both objectives are down. Pyro still for a couple minutes. Gold Fury obviously for a couple minutes as well before that one jumps back. Do we wait until maybe one of those objectives pop back up before we see some more fighting around the map? Or do you think maybe one of these teams tries to get the ball rolling a bit early?
Well, we saw Scream try and gank Vote once, and it looks like he's trying to make him again. But beautiful cleanse as well as the ultimate just to immune that one. But Scream is going to still get the ultimate. Vote goes right back down.
Hurriwind drops the silence puddle right under, but the follow-up from the Dragons is way better than what the Ravens had brought. Being all the way back behind the Tier 1 tower means that BaRRaCCuDDa cannot follow up and help out Hurriwind and Scream. So instead it's Scream falling down for the side of the Ravens and a 4-strong Jade Dragons rotating through. I would have thought with no objectives up to fight, it would have been just sit back and farm, but both teams proving us wrong here, Trelly.
Yeah, I mean, Scream tried to gank Vote once, didn't work out, sort of sat in the jungle. This time goes for between towers gank, which would have been great, I suppose, if you catch him out quick, but the rotation comes in. As you said, Nika makes the rotation over as well. Just a little bit too far. You really can't force that kill, because the BaRRaCCuDDa just couldn't make it. And Hurriwind, he's not doing that much damage. He's got 2 cloak items to his name. Not going to be the follow-up that you want off of that Windfire wheel. So Scream takes his 3rd death of the game. But like I said, this is the play style of Scream. I mean, he's either going 20-0 or 0-20, but he's still making things happen, right? He's trying to force these ganks. To be clear, that was not a good force. That was way overstaying your welcome between towers without this massive lead. But he said, hey, Vote's beads are going to be up in 25 seconds. If we don't do it now, we're not going to get to do it, so I'm just going to force this. And BaRRa said, I'm level 18, bro. I am not going between towers. You have fun. You might not be worth that much gold, but I am.
Hurriwind trying to get something out of Dardez and Mike in the mid. It's all the setup for Pyromancer for the Highland Ravens. Boulder over the wall, not enough, and neither is the damage from Dardez. The Highland Ravens will secure themselves a Pyromancer to match that of the Jade Dragons from earlier. Meanwhile, Vote does not leave this left side of the map. He'll continue his split push. Nearly takes out a Tier 2 tower, but with BaRRaCCuDDa rotating in, that will slow him down. Vote up to the sky to run away as fast as he can, but he lands right by Venenu. No follow-up damage there. Just a little bit towards Vote to force him back. But now with an ultimate gone from the Jade Dragons Hunter, the Highland Ravens set up for the Fury once more.
This should be relatively free. LASBRA stepping up, but he's on a ward. Fire Giant could be the call here for the Jade Dragons, but now they're on a ward. How quickly can they make the rotation over? The Highland Ravens had to call it off. They didn't even go for Primal, and it's only going to be Scream who can walk up first.
Fire Giant's at half. Scream will throw out a ring toss. LASBRA catches him with the ultimate. Immediate retreat now by LASBRA. Fire Giant still going through. Polder already used. Haddix is blinking to the back line, and the Jade Dragons will get the Fire Giant. Haddix doing the best that he can to slow things down. Goes into the back of the cavalry charge. Finds the double stun onto Nika and Vote. Scream wants to find that pick if he can, but it's a cleanse by Mike once more to slow things down. Big damage coming through from Venenu, but not enough. The Jade Dragons, they get away with murder. They get the Fire Giant on all 5.
That's a beautiful call. I mean, you see the Primal Fury. You recognize, hey, they're not going to be able to make it over here in time. It was just Scream and Hurriwind who could step up. Haddix does go for the chase down, but they weren't able to claim anything. The 50-50 goes in their favor because it was a bit of a weighted coin. The Jade Dragons had more bodies there. They were able to get that burst damage out. And by the way, the Ravens didn't even grab Primal Fury. They were not even able to confirm that objective, and now the Jade Dragons will be able to go for both. Bit of a blunder there by the Highland Ravens. They recognized they had pressure. They recognized they had crit damage, but so do the Jade Dragons, right? Vote does plenty of damage. Dardez has been farming the map up. He's level 19, does plenty of burst. 20 minutes in, first Fire Giant of the game goes the way of the Dragons, and now they've got time to start pushing up left lane. It is still very difficult to siege. I mean, if the Highland Ravens are going to be standing tall at Tier 2 towers, maybe not that left Tier 2 because it's relatively weak, but these tier 2 towers are going to be hard to push into because of Venenu's damage. The outwash is a nightmare to siege into. You got to try and bait out, empty the crypts, and then back up. That's usually the call. You can get that ultimate down and then go in. It just gets so much easier. But it's playing slow so far for the Jade Dragons. Nika still over and right. LASBRA's in mid. And it looks like a 3-man split over on the left side of the map.
Vote. It's rooted out by Hurriwind. It's the dual lane of the Ravens to defend their tier 2 that's already been weakened by Vote from earlier on. He was split pushing while the Highland Ravens were active maybe more towards the right and middle side of the map. The Jade Dragons, though, won't continue their push. Instead, they can back away, work on a tier 1 tower, and maybe a tier 2 in mid instead. The tier 1 mid tower does crumble down. The Jade Dragons push up 5 strong. LASBRA going for the rotation to Hurriwind. Does manage to take away the Magi's from Hurry. His free CC immunity now gone. The Jade Dragons playing very patiently, not sticking around under the tier 2. Maybe recognizing that their siege on the left side wasn't as successful. And maybe, Charlie, that's where we can kind of pivot the conversation for the Dragons. We take a look at the Dragons last week against the Gilded Gladiators. Tough to siege into, but maybe more so, kind of as Nika was alluding to in the late game, the composition that they had to go into. Merlin, Martichoras was so difficult for them to siege.
Yep.
And as you already highlight, maybe some of the difficulties of going into an op-wash. Is this maybe an easier composition for the Dragons to siege into, and maybe a team and a comp they've built around to be able to siege?
I would say no. If you look at the Jade Dragons, who is killing towers? Is it going to be the crit Chernobog? That isn't going to be your best option. Of course, with Fire Giant it helps, but it's not going to be shredding down. Is it going to be LASBRA, who's building, at the moment, mostly defense? Also, no. You don't have that much ease of access. You're pretty much hoping that, number 1, you get a big wipe, or number 2, you're able to split up the siege in a 3-2 split, something like that, to make your time a lot easier. The burn is not there. You've got 1 Runic Bomb in Vote's pocket. PBM had already used his, so it's going to be difficult. It's not an easy time sieging, and that's why with this Fire Giant, we saw nothing. We saw no siege. Walk up to a tier 2 tower, see what you can get. In this case, they didn't even go for it. And now the Highland Ravens have their chance to try and defend on the right side of the map once this Fire Giant respawns. Hurriwind, notably, finally hits level 15 and gets his 3rd item. I guess you could call it his 2.5 item with the starter upgrade. Whereas Mike, level 17, has 4 strong. It is much more difficult for Hurriwind to be a frontliner. Because like I said, that Prophetic Cloak is only halfway stacked. I count that as half an item until it gets evolved, right? It takes a while before you actually get that benefit. Hurriwind is just looking for lockdown and trying to stay pretty far back because he melts relatively quickly. This Nox is not going to be that frontliner that you wanted to be for quite some time.
Last time, LASBRA was able to walk up and pop the bubble around Hurriwind. Just a fairly easy Cobra's Kiss. Felt like LASBRA was trying to fish for the same exact result just a moment ago, but with so many members of the Highland Ravens now surrounding Hurriwind, very difficult to do so. Vote will utilize this Chernobog in ways that we've talked about quite a bit in the past, of split pushing a lane, being able to ult after you forced 1, maybe 2 members over to deal with you. He's done just that. I mean, now Haddix forced to leave to the left side, defend a tower, does have teleport to get back. Vote can easily, with 1 ultimate, jump right back in.
He can. I think the issue with that play, though, is it's not like you have a double ADC composition, right? It's not like the Jade Dragons can say, oh, Dardez is burning through this Fire Giant. You guys better step up. There's no baiting FG when your ADC is over and left, so the Jade Dragons can group up. They can sit around. But Haddix can teleport back in. He can join the fight at any moment. And they have no damage for Fire Giant, so we're essentially at a stalemate. I would say the only misplay that the Ravens could make here is going for that Primal Fury. If so, once again, you're going to put a lot of pressure over to the right side of the map. So the Jade Dragons are going to go for this half bait, try and see if they can pull Magi's off of Hurriwind. Maybe they can go for a pull from Nika. Until then, I imagine nothing happens here, J-Mac. This looks like a bait of a bait. It's not. You can't even successfully bait with Vote over and left.
So now, for the Jade Dragons, all standing around Fire Giant, holding hands and singing at the campfire. The Highland Ravens can sit by and watch as the Jade Dragons continue to do a whole lot of not much on the map. Does this benefit maybe the Highland Ravens, Charlie, the fact that, you know, they are behind about 5,000 gold to the Jade Dragons, but the Dragons not making any real active choices on the map? Does this kind of help out the Highland Ravens to get themselves towards that late game team fight?
Well, the Jade Dragons haven't maxed out their builds yet, right? So it's still helping them out. We saw that LASBRA was able to upgrade his starter item. He's got the Serrated. But you're letting Scream catch up. He doesn't have that upgraded Protector of the Jungle yet. If he's able to farm that up before the fight, that's going to help them out a ton. As I said earlier, Hurriwind needs some extra XP. He needs some levels, so letting Hurriwind catch up is still beneficial, but again, Jade Dragons are not maxed out. They have plenty of upgrades they can still grab, and until then, it seems like they're not going to be able to go for that call. But finally, Vote makes the rotation over. There is a Hunter here who can go for the Fire Giant if need be, but so far, I'm still thinking it's on Nika. Can he find a pull? Can he pull a Magi's? Can he walk forward? If so, we might see a Siege. We might see a Brawl. If not, it's probably going to be a whole lot of sustaining, hovering around Haddix, hovering around PBM, trying to keep your health bars high. Because this next Fire Giant, that first one was really early. You weren't able to get too much off it. This next Fire Giant is going to break the game open. Your tier 2s are going down. If you're the Highland Ravens, your tier 1s are going down. There's plenty of gold to be had here on this objective.
If you want decent secure on the side of the Dragons, a second Pyromancer and a second Runic Bomb in pocket would certainly help them out. Maybe around this Fire Giant pit, but it's been a whole lot of nothing for the last few minutes of play, Trelly. Some
Vote's going for
attempted
gold.
bait on the left side. Vote goes
no,
towards.
He's just going to walk past it. He wants a shield buff.
He's got to go to lane, bro. He's got look at all those minions. Look at the shield buff that he can have. It's so much shielding to his name. What's that? About 500 HP as a shield. That negates one crit from BaRRaCCuDDa.
That is a big deal if you're trying to find a 1v1. But Vote's in left. LASBRA's at the Ravens speed buff, and PBM just backed. The Ravens don't have enough ward vision to know any of this is happening, but if they did, that's an immediate pull on a Fire Giant, you would think. Vote finally going over to left, so Haddix is going to have to deal with it, but LASBRA might find a 1v1.
Scream does get taunted back through. Crits are good for the Deathbane after. Scream is going to lose out on this trade because his ultimate has been beats away by LASBRA, but bailed out by Haddix on a fast rotation through from the solo. Now BaRRaCCuDDa and Hurriwind rotating through as well. Vote going to have to use his beads if he wants to get away from the stun, but eats the full duration of it and the silence. Holds out for the ult. Will immediately cancel it and drop himself back down. Very patient play with Vote on those relics.
All right, so let's do a relic rounded of what we just saw. Scream beads down, LASBRA beads down. Both use the ultimate. Vote uses the ult to try to escape, but of course Haddix had to use the ult to pull that ult. Primal Fury goes in the favor of Jade Dragons. So essentially it's just the junglers both use beads and ultimates, and Haddix and Vote will probably have their ults back up before a fight breaks out. But the Primal Fury, that's a big deal. That's going to help the Jade Dragons get that enhanced damage. And since they are still in the lead, they are likely going to be the team to try and pull this Fire Giant. Nika hasn't even left. He's just sitting around dancing at Fire Giant, waiting to see who's going to step up, trying to find a pull. In the meantime, we're going to be enhanced here soon, J-Mac. 50 seconds or so? You already highlighted the burst factor here. 2 Runic Bombs in favor of the Jade Dragons, but I would argue Alposh still does have a great time trying to throw that Corpse Explosion in the mix. If he's able to step up, if Ben is able to actually walk into the Fire Giant pit, could cause some trouble. But keep your eyes on LASBRA. He's been hovering around this speed buff. His beats are down. If Scream connects, he's dead. If not, we saw what happens when that 1v1 comes through. Those crits are going in favor of LASBRA at the moment.
Haddix bailed out by Hurriwind, 2 of them bailing each other out. More than anything. 4-man rotation of the Jade Dragons up through mid. Now LASBRA heading back to base before he rejoins the fray. Deathbringer online for LASBRA. So going a little bit of defense.
Look at
and
Vote.
Rounding out with a bit of damage.
He went Hydra's last item. He wants just big numbers.
We've been seeing the Hydras a few times. We'll see if it pays off for him now. Scream gets the ring toss on top of a big crit from BaRRaCCuDDa, puts Vote in the dirt. Nika on landing needs more damage from the Ravens, and there's plenty of it between Barra and Venenu. BaRRaCCuDDa, credit to the kill, but the burst from Venenu on that follow-up nets 2 for the Highland Ravens.
Haddix is going back. He still has teleport. He wants to help sustain his team. 5 versus 3. LASBRA still hovering in the backline, and Hurriwind is trying to zone him out as Haddix teleports in to make sure Dardez gets bullied. We saw how much damage BaRRaCCuDDa has. That was a massive crit, but it's all up to LASBRA now. Can he go in for a play? It looks like he's trying.
Hurriwind still has his bubble. Tanking up. The Fire Giant seems to be BaRRaCCuDDa, but LASBRA, he's got to find the pick here. Goes for the taunt. Finds BaRRaCCuDDa. Dash out, but a big crit from LASBRA on his own dash will take out Barra. The Fire Giant now has to be leashed away.
What is
by
happening?
the Highland Ravens? A scattered fight. A confusing fight at that. Maybe LASBRA can find another pick. Double crit inside. LASBRA's just the lone assassin of the squad. He'll go down to Scream and Haddix, but confusing that LASBRA was able to make the plays that he has. And with Vote coming back in, and Dardez joining as well. Now Haddix is in danger of falling down.
Haddix definitely slowed here. How much follow-up damage do you have? The boulder not going to be enough to finish, and it looks like the Jade Dragons are going to try and chase this one out. Hurriwind could be stuck, but Scream goes in with the sash, and it looks like the rest of the Highland Ravens will be able to make it out. But that was not a good siege towards Fire Giant at all. Haddix just goes in for the zone, and it looks like Hurriwind also was running away, so BaRRa's left a tank. It's so weak. LASBRA makes a huge play. Goes in 100 to 0's BaRRaCCuDDa and Ven, and Fire Giant is going to be burning down here. There's no way that Hurry can get in time with the ultimate. So that enhanced Fire Giant, courtesy of LASBRA, and there's no justice in the world, J-Mac. He can't even get it. He's not spawning in for 10 more seconds.
That's just wrong.
Yep.
He did all that work, and he's not even able to get the benefits from it. Does go 5-1-2. His first death of the game coming from that double kill play around Fire. Finishes out his build. Also benefits with a third Pyromancer for the Jade Dragons. A fourth total in the game, but 3 players now with Runic Bomb in pocket. 3 tier 2 towers and full Phoenixes still to siege through. Jade Dragons have access to a lot of the map. But Trelly, this now comes back once again to maybe the siege difficulty of the Jade Dragons, not just with their composition, but also what they're playing into that you highlighted earlier.
It's not going to be easy to walk up, but I think the call now, that you got EFG, it's much different. So the Jade Dragons can split up, say, hey, we're going to send either PBM, Vote, and Dardez to one lane. I think put one tank with LASBRA, put him in mid, and you're winning that 2v2, no matter who comes in, right? If it's Scream and Haddix versus LASBRA and Nika, it's just going to take one bit of CC onto this Naja, and death could happen. Once Vote is able to fly in, he could say, hey, I'm going to go for left lane, fly over to right, I'm going to go for mid, fly over to left, whatever that may be. I think with EFG, your siege gets infinitely easier. You don't have to step up and group into an outwatch if you don't want to. You can push away from the outwatch. You can say, hey, Ven's here, let's go for a different lane. So far, that's not the call because LASBRA's over in right. He had to stop some split pushing. But once the grouping happens for the Jade Dragons, I hope to see them split up this siege a bit. I don't want to see a full 5v5 into one lane.
First tower of the enhanced Fire Giant. He's still weak in one, on left at least. Not much health to its name after some of the sieges that Vote had put that direction. Petrelli, only a minute left of this enhanced Fire Giant play. And all the Jade Dragons have to show for it are a couple of tier 2 towers so far. A split siege. 2 to the mid, 3 left. Hurriwind will join with his carries to defend on the left side. While it's Vote over in the mid with Scream to be the one to defend up against them. A tense moment now for the Jade Dragons and for the Highland Ravens. LASBRA, quick peeds, uses the ultimate on the Scream. Scream takes it to the sky, but Scream will die again to the poison. LASBRA will make his slow descent down. It's not enough damage from the dash. And Hurriwind's ultimate just off the mark. The Highland Ravens unable to find their trade, but they still keep their Phoenixes alive.
Yep, they were able to bait out Ven's ultimate on the left side of the map, but it looks like Nika is going to be able to teleport back in. He's full HP. LASBRA's getting healed up here by PBM, and now it's a 4v5. Scream just did not have to go in there. Wanted to take that 1v1, and it's going to fall because of it. This left side Phoenix should definitely drop, and so does Hurriwind.
Hurriwind caught out of position, but Venenu finds a sneaky corpse toss over against Nika. Now the Jade Dragons have lost one of their frontliners. It's going to be 55 seconds until Nika can rejoin the battle. Still 45 for Hurry, 20 for Scream on the side of the Ravens. The Dragons will push up. They've lost their enhanced Fire Giant.
Gone?
They've lost so much of their siege, and Venenu barely able to live through. The damage from Dardez is starting to get a little bit ridiculous for the Ravens. They can't step up to defend their left Phoenix. After all of that, will be the one that goes down.
That tornado from Dardez almost just eliminated Ven. You're losing more than your Phoenix if you lose Outwash there, but that's an enhanced Fire Giant, and only one Phoenix goes down. And I think if Scream has a little bit more patience, you don't even lose that. It was just too early of initiation. You get your beads down, you trade there for LASBRA, and the follow-up, unfortunately, on the ultimate was just not there. The Jade Dragons are making a beeline for the enhanced Fire Giant. And it looks like it's going to be another true 5v5. Haddix has decent enough damage to where he can push out these fire waves and still teleport in if the enhanced Fire Giant starts to be looked at. But Vote, with this build, getting a red buff, as well as we saw how much damage Dardez is able to do with another red buff. The Jade Dragons are in a fantastic spot just to push in for this Fire Giant. And if I'm the Highland Ravens, I'm warding everywhere. Where is LASBRA? I need to know if I'm a carry, because he can just 100-0 me around any corner if I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, we saw it happen last time, twice, around Fire Giant, where LASBRA was able, one moment to blink right into the back line, one moment to sneak back through to the back. Find 2 picks to start out for the Jade Dragons. With Fire Giant back on the map and on the table for the Jade Dragons. It's a waiting game for them as minions start to pour into the left side of the map. And eventually we'll be able to break into the Titan room. Dardez under fire by Scream. Scream nearly taken out, but a shell will keep him alive. It's Haddix to the back line to fight against Dardez. Not quite enough damage. One more swipe will do it. Haddix takes out one of the carries of the Dragons.
LASBRA on the back.
Maybe even one of the tanks. Nika is low. Venenu chasing through, but not enough damage from the Puch, but keep eyes on LASBRA. He made the hero play last time for his team, and you've got to keep watch on him around this fire.
Yeah, he did step near the ward, though. It looks like the Highland Ravens have an idea that he's here, but fire minions are pouring into the base. Nika, full HP. Someone's going to have to back. I would argue the Ravens don't want to stick around here. Someone's got to go clear those minions. Haddix doesn't have the teleport anymore, and you lose Dardez for 30 seconds, but the Jade Dragons are fine to stall this one out. The fear of LASBRA hiding somewhere in the back line and the minions on the base are going to stop the siege for now, but the Ravens are still going forward.
Mike does get rooted, but will be able to cleanse himself and get out quickly. Scream has been the one who's been delegated to deal with the minions over on the left side of the map. Still going to be waves pouring in, and that buys time now for the Jade Dragons, because the Ravens aren't going to make a pull through. LASBRA instead being chased on the left side of the map, and the Jade Dragons are the ones who pull the fire. Baron Venner here. That's a lot of damage to fight back in. Even Nika starting to feel some of the brunt of what Venenu can do. Fire Giant has been leashed by the Jade Dragons. A fast retreat. The Highland Ravens have all regrouped now around fire, but Charlie Minion is still going to be affecting that left side of the map.
Yeah, but you get beads off of LASBRA, and that's huge. If you can just take him up, if Scream is able to find this Serqet, that is a big answer towards this team fight. BaRRaCCuDDa this time is going to be the one to clear out left side. And that's going to be a smart call. He can fly back in. Remember, Haddix doesn't have teleport for 20 seconds, and you need pressure. You need presence towards that Fire Giant. So far, it looks like that's all we're going to see. Lizards are in left lane, though. Dardez did drop them, and that's going to keep pushing this wave forward. But Fire Giant once again started up, and LASBRA's making his way up. Remember, no beads on a lot of the members of the Dragons.
In fact, it's only a couple of relics even up for them right now. Still 10 seconds away till teleport for Nika, beads for Dardez. Vote's relics just came off a cooldown. Mike soon to have his beads as well.
Someone's got to clear left, and it can't be Hurriwind.
It will be at least relics in favor of the Ravens to start this fight out, but the longer we wait, if this goes even another minute of dancing around the fire, the Jade Dragons should have all of their relics back up in time to deal with it. Haddix will go back and deal with the minions. Even having to use his ultimate just for a little bit of extra damage. One more fire wave standing by.
They're going to ambush
him. They're going to
go
for a gank up against Haddix.
He's got
Vote
no ult.
and LASBRA are here. Haddix will step up. Blink from LASBRA. Damage in from Vote. Haddix gets thrown right back to Vote. A fast dash out, but a double dash back in. Haddix has been caught out by the Jade Dragons, and there's nothing that the Ravens can do about that. Scream shows up, but not much that Scream and BaRRaCCuDDa can do. The minions have gotten into the Phoenix, and the Dragons can start the Fire Giant.
I mean, that's a bit of a wasted call if Haddix doesn't have to ult those minions, but because he did, they had plenty of CC and lockdown, and he goes down. Enhanced Fire Giant is being pulled. It's only Hurriwind. Yeah, you got to give that one up. Beautiful call there from LASBRA and Vote. And unfortunate that Haddix decided to use Cavalry Charge. I guess he had to keep the Phoenix alive. Look how weak it is. It was almost dead regardless. I think that was a misplay by the Highland Ravens to send Haddix. I think you could have sent BaRRa. You could have sent just about anyone. But because you send Haddix, he has to run the whole way over. And then, of course, no CC immunity. He's going to get killed by LASBRA and Vote every single time. Now the Jade Dragons are able to grab this last Tier 2 tower. Haddix will be up in 15, but it looks like he's not going to be up in time to try and defend the right side bird if the Jade Dragons are able to walk in quickly, and they're rushing in.
Jade Dragons. A very weak Phoenix to take out in left, but a healthy one in mid and right. And I shouldn't even say healthy. Damage in from LASBRA puts that Phoenix at critical HP. Scream forced to keep him out, but a boulder from Nika to try and zone some of the backliners of the Highland Ravens. Nika taking a couple of crit shots from BaRRaCCuDDa. He'll heal a bit of that up, and the sustain from PBM will keep him alive as well. Doesn't even look like Nika. Just a double crit from BaRRaCCuDDa. The jungler's on the left side.
This siege is going to be won by a 1v1 between Scream and LASBRA, I'm sure of it. Like, I don't think that the Jade Dragons are playing aggressive at all. They're going to sit back, but both beads are down. Scream doesn't have them, and LASBRA doesn't have them. Whoever connects an ability first is going to win that 1v1.
Ooh, Hurriwind stepping a bit far up, throws out the ultimate. Damage from Dardez is just a little off the mark, a little too far out of range. Scream and LASBRA, they're having the ultimate staring contest on the left side of the map. 80 seconds until beads are back up for the both of them. Highland Ravens still 4-stacked on the right as Haddix is forced to go back to base. The damage from the tornado from Dardez on this Tiamat starting to do numbers. Runic Bomb expended on the right side Phoenix, but still did not take it down. The Jade Dragons just cannot break into the base of the Ravens.
Yeah, the left side bird's down though, and now mid with Nika and LASBRA. They've got plenty of damage to try and go for it. But the health bars are getting low. It looks like Scream is not going to be able to fend this, but Ven's trying to help out as well. They don't have enough damage. They're just being able to split up the map so well, and now LASBRA's he's in the Titan room.
Going for a little maneuver around. BaRRaCCuDDa low in HP. Vote up in the sky to crash back down, but Dardez is gone. BaRRaCCuDDa just ran to the backline with Haddix boulder through. Will take down Hurriwind, but LASBRA and Voter above the danger. Voter's actually backing in the enemy base and he gets spotted out. Scream, credit for the kill on a vote. 3 dead on the Dragons. They're only able to take out the weakened Phoenix on left. And now the Highland Ravens with a minute on the cooldowns can start running up the mid lane.
They're sieging forward. Fire minions are going to be on the Titan here shortly, but what's the call? Are you going for the end? Nika and PBM are the only one who can keep this Titan alive. They've got 12 seconds left on Enhanced Fire Giant. There's no way you can go in for the end here. It's maybe a tier 2 tower, but those fire minions are going to start to add up.
It's just the tanks to defend against tier 2. BaRRaCCuDDa makes quick work of it with the team. Dashes in, but doesn't get hit by the knockup from Nika. Stun on top of PBM. But the focus has got to be to the Phoenix if you want to keep the siege up. Body blocks by Nika in front of BaRRaCCuDDa. I don't think you want to stand in front of the big crits. The Highland Ravens have 13 seconds until Dardez is back up. The Jade Dragons have to defend, but the Crimson Engine BaRRaCCuDDa pushed into the fountain. Is that enough for the Jade Dragons? PBM and Nika have been knocked down, and the Highland Ravens with a 1 defense on right, 1 triple stack to knock them down. They push up the mid and they take back game 1.
I cannot believe they had enough Titan damage. Nika even dishes BaRRa into the fountain.
Wow.
And I guess Empty the Crypts was able to supply enough. That Outwash burst was nasty. They just let the fire minions pour into their base. They decided right then and there, we're either ending the game or we're losing the game here. And they trusted their Titan damage. I didn't think they could do it. They had it was a very thin margins there. If there was a little bit more body blocking from Nika, if the healing from PBM wasn't coming through, I mean, that could have went a different way.
A couple more seconds, Dardez would have been back up, and that's going to be the damage to push back through, but Highland Ravens go for the all-in commit. They say, look, we killed the carries. It's only the tanks. Those tanks aren't doing a lot of damage. Let's push our way up. They're able to take down Tower, take down Phoenix, and then the Titan immediately after. And again, it just comes down to the Jade Dragons really struggling on these sieges. It seems that of all the things for the Jade Dragons to maybe go back and look on, it's trying to find how they're going to break into the base of these teams, or maybe even in the draft, maybe try and make some adjustments to be able to find some better siege comps.
Yeah, it seemed like their split push was working, though. I mean, LASBRA was able to grab a Phoenix over on left once Nika and LASBRA grouped up, but it was the fight on right that they ended up losing that really cost them.
Well, with that 1 team fight cost, the Jade Dragons fall down to the Highland Ravens, who are able to capitalize off a big punishment with that. Highland Ravens start the set 1-0. We'll come back with game number 2 right after this break.
Some smoke and mirrors at play there in game number 1. I literally couldn't do it. The Highland Ravens, they're able to hold strong on the defense. They're down 10, 12,000 gold, and they clear the minions. They turn things around, find 3 kills, and run it right back down on the other side. And they'll grab a win here in game number 1. And you at home can grab a Highland Ravens jersey in celebration thanks to our apparel sponsor in Skulls. All 8 teams in the league all have their jerseys and their hoodies. Some great new designs. And again, different orgs starting to have some good years now. And so it's a good time to get in before you're considered a bandwagon fan, right? It's still early enough that if you're kind of predicting who's going to be great later on in the year.
Unless you buy Warriors. You're bandwagoning already.
Already, you think?
I think so. They're that winning.
They're that winning. Well, the Oni Warriors, they do have a great jersey and a great hoodie, but there have been Oni Warriors fans for years now.
Of course.
And they probably already have their Skulls jerseys. But if you don't yet, now's a great time to get in there and grab it. Highland Ravens, they're a team that's very close to matching the win streak now that the Oni Warriors have gone on. Just one more win here against the Jade Dragons, and they'll improve to 3-0 on top of the order side. How do they get it done, Miff? Because they are backs against the wall for the last 15 minutes of this game, and the Dragons just couldn't make much headway on their siege.
Yeah, I think it could be a composition issue for the Jade Dragons, just not having a frontliner support. That Hell really struggles, I think. Otherwise, I mean, the base defense composition for the Highland Ravens also incredibly strong. Opwash is just impossible to fight into in these simplified game state like environments. If you're having to walk straight into a Phoenix, you're walking straight through a minefield if Opwash is on the other side, and that seemed to be a major stopping point for the Jade Dragons. Otherwise, I'd argue the Jade Dragons had done enough to get that dub. LASBRA in particular has perhaps one of his best performances in the last year or two. I mean, that Serqet was doing it all on Fire Giant defense, the double pick. I thought that was GG. Separating the map on the last siege and making sure that Scream wasn't able to participate with his team. I thought that was incredibly good. But when BaRRaCCuDDa is having as strong a match as he did in this one, it's going to be really hard. I mean, he was doing essentially LASBRA stuff on the other side, was finding 1v2s around the Fire Giant, diving in, frontlining on Phoenix defense to create space for his team. The Highland Ravens are a tenacious squad. If you want to end their Titan, you got to earn it.
You do. I think the Jade Dragons will probably think they did enough during the actual game, but the siege was difficult. Mage is in a really strong spot right now. Difficult to counteract some of that clear. Unfortunately, you got to fight into a late game Jing Wei. Because, you know, the gold lead starts to matter a little bit less once
gold is smoke and mirrors after like 30 minutes.
Right, everyone's level 20, everyone's full build, and you know you get to a point on BaRRa where you're walking into a crit. You saw him dash forward.
Oh yeah.
Into Dardez. Got to be frustrating for the Jade Dragons, but I think going into game 2, you're realizing a lot of what you did in the early to mid game worked, but teams still having difficulty sieging and ending games here in Season 10.
Yeah, if I'm Marbach, the Jade Dragons coach, the notes are, LASBRA, keep it up, man. You did great. If you can give me 80% of what happened there, phenomenal. You know, you don't need to do it all again. It's the rest of the team, I think, that needs to step up a little bit here. PBM in particular on the Hell just was not able to find enough value for my liking. He did make it difficult for Scream to find ultimates. So often it was sash into a cleanse, or we saw Haddix find a multi-man stun on Guan Yu immediately into a cleanse, and that's amazing. That's great for counter initiation, for surviving or running away. That's the main reason that first Fire Giant goes the way of the Jade Dragons. When they were only about 1.5k up, grab that Fire Giant, disengage. That's thanks to the movement speed and the CC immunity that Hell affords your team. But when it comes to ending the game, you need someone that can start the fight consistently, someone that can create that space, that can go in and survive for a little bit, threaten with CC so that the follow-up is there. Hell's not exactly that. And if you put all of the onus on Nika as that sole frontliner, the only guy that can get your fight started, BaRRaCCuDDa hits him 3 times. He's no longer tanky. He's down to about 50% HP. So I think conceptually, I love what the Jade Dragons have. Their composition, great for counterpunch, but actually trying to knock somebody out, I'm not sure you could do it with that draft.
See what they change up then, Myth, going into game number 2 in our picks and bans. Serqet apparently good for exactly 6 kills for LASBRA, and I think that's something the Ravens might need to consider. 6-1, 6-1, 6-2 in the last 3 Serqet games. 3 of the last 4 games in general have been on Serqet, with 1 Hebo in there for LASBRA.
He can't break the 7th kill glass ceiling, I suppose. Only 6 on the Serqets.
6 is feeling fine though in the
win.
In the win.
The 33% win rate.
Not in the losses, however.
No.
Gone 6-1 and 6-2 and lost both of those games. And Serqet's still going to get banned out by the Highland Ravens, so will not see it for LASBRA here in game number 2. Still plenty of options. I think Jade Dragon sticking with a lot of what worked in their ban column, namely the Emoja, a pick that Hurriwind has done so well on. Remember, Ravens banned both Cern and Marty in game number 1. Took both of those away from vote. And limits, to your point, Myth, a lot of, like, I could see a composition that is Cern and Marty as a double AD carry composition for the Jade Dragons, right? I mean, that's the style of comp they might just straight up want to play. So it's not just vote, but Dardez out of the mid lane as well. And I wonder if it's sort of a weird pick and ban style of game for the Ravens, where they're realizing, yes, we got away with one, we were able to defend and run it back down, but from 25 to 45 minutes, we weren't really in the lead at all. And so it's a win, but you might still have some adjustments to make after game 1.
I mean, the Highland Ravens, in where the game started to go south, I think was more so play on field as opposed to their own composition. That Fire Giant was a 1.5k lead for the Jade Dragons. That's a fight that you're still probably not willing to coin toss. The Dragons essentially just catch the Ravens asleep at the wheel and run away with the biggest neutral objective, which is going to naturally extend your lead at that portion of the game, considering how many towers are available. So I don't think the Highland Ravens need to concern themselves too much with their own composition. It's just continue to play your game, clean up that early a little bit. They showed very clearly that their 5-on-5 was strong enough with the last draft. I don't think they're going into these P's and B's with too many concerns.
No, I don't think they need to. Taking their time, though. Both teams with that last ban. Realizing might want to leave both of the priority mage supports open. Horus was the ban last time for the Jade Dragons. Will be yet again in game number
Marty,
2.
Right? What?
Guan, you the lock-in. Could be Marty here for the Jade Dragons, and again, that will leave open a double carry composition. You could give that to Vote or Dardez, and then a standard AD carry somewhere else in the draft. But Hell, Nox, Aphrodite still around. Aphrodite was heavily banned out at the beginning of Season 10 in the SPL in the last week or two in the kickoff tournament, but fallen a bit as far as priority goes in our recent matchups.
Yeah, I wonder. Mike seems pretty happy going towards those mage healer supports, but with 2 available right now, I'm not absolutely sure you have to take it here. I would really think it would just be an instant snap block for the Jade Dragons towards that Marty, even if not for Vote. Vote has played it recently. Dardez loves that style of play. When AMC was the meta, Dardez was running it 9 out of 9 games given the opportunity, and it feels like Marty is essentially the second coming of AMC.
Yeah.
Just massive ability damage, phenomenal pressure throughout the early, physical penetration on the ultimate, but also safer, and also with more team utility. That Stealth Grass, especially around Fire Giant dances or rotations into the jungle, just makes it so difficult for whoever's playing against you to figure out how many people are standing in front of them, whether or not anybody's there at all. And those moments of hesitation really can cost you at the highest level of competitive play. Cthulhu locked in for the Jade Dragons this early in your draft. We used to see standard answers to Cthulhu like the AMC for that physical pen, the Charybdis as well, with the kin size and kin size eating a buff coming into this year, now doing upwards of like 6% HP damage on targets with over 2,500 HP, and you better believe Cthulhu is going to be one of those targets. Could be an option for the Highland Ravens. But I wonder if it's even worthwhile to go towards a Charybdis for that style of build, considering how strong Crit is right now.
I'm not surprised that Nox gets locked in. I want to make sure my WoW is properly analyzed here. I was surprised that Nox has won 100% of her games across 7. It's not like 2 or 3 Nox games. 7 Nox games in the SPL. 100% win rate for Nox is in a fantastic spot and provides good lockdown for the Highland Ravens. I imagine a few of those games, and definitely in the case of game number 1 against the Hell, and yes, I imagine that win rate will be a little bit lower. The exact same amount of games played, but do the math with me here, Miff. 57% less win rate.
yeah, that's a certain amount of wins for sure. The Hell, less than 7. It's got to be 3 or 4. Is it less than? It's less than 50%. It's 3. It's 3 wins.
3 or 4 wins, right?
It's 3.
Sure.
No, it's 3.
Right, because 4 would be over 50%.
Yeah, meet me on this hill. Say it's 3.
It's 3.
Okay, cool.
But I'm saying Hell versus Nox has gone towards Nox every single time so far in the matches that we've seen them go up against one another.
Which is interesting, considering Hell is uniquely suited to deal with what Nox brings to the table. That cleanse invalidates the combo, but because Shadow Lock's on such a short cooldown and Nox support doesn't really need to land the damage from her second ability, just spamming Shadow Lock, maybe there just aren't enough cleanses to deal with them. I do like the adaptation, though. I'd said Hell not being a part of your standard front line, not being that tank initiator has hurt the Jade Dragons, especially in Siege. Now you got a Cthulhu on your side. That's about as strong of a front line as it gets. That's the best Smite has to offer insofar as ability to create space from an individual god. Descent into Madness, just massive AoE potential for CC. Knock up after knock up, heals if your team is low. I think a smart adaptation, I'm just not certain it's enough. This Hell support has only worked the once. We've only seen it work for Aurora, and that was in a match that they just absolutely blew their opponents out of the water, and Hell is very good at winning harder. If you've got enough of a lead, especially in the early game, those heals just feel like you can't play against anybody around them. But if it goes late and it remains largely even, we've seen that there are answers. We've seen 4 out of 7 times that there are answers.
The Highland Ravens, I think they knew that the Jade Dragons were going double AD carry comp because with Marty already locked in, still banning out Chernobog and the Jing Wei. We talked about Rama earlier on the desk and how that's just one of Vote's strongest ADC picks anyway.
B&B.
Huh?
Bread and butter.
Oh, okay. Could have been so many things.
What else?
Let's not get into this here.
Okay, my bad.
Batz, final pick for the Jade Dragons. 50% win rate, Myth, across 2 games. Do the math with me here.
Whoa.
1-1.
How am I to know? You know, it's not over or under 50.
Not one we've seen. Not one we've seen LASBRA play in the SPL yet this year. Great at facilitating, starting up fights, and buying space. Space creation should be there for the Jade Dragons in this game. If they pull out another lead, does that make the siege easier?
Yeah, I like this Hun bots as well. Just anything that gets your fight started and gets it started the right way. I think exactly what the Jade Dragons need. It's massive threat on beads, but the concern is now for the Jade Dragons is who else has threat on beads? It's not Ram. It's not really Hell. I mean, Marty, I guess, in the 1v1, but that's a pretty short stun and it's single target. I think a lot of the work is going to have to be done by LASBRA in stripping away the relic and making use of those burnt relics. It's not even to say that the Highland Ravens haven't got smart answers in kit. Ishtar, Guan, Hibo, all CC immune in their ultimates. You got to be really on point with this Hun bots.
Can join a teammate.
Yep.
Right, and then head out.
Opwash is going to empty some crypts. I mean, it doesn't help him, but it helps everybody else.
It helps everyone else. And that leads us to the conversation where the Jade Dragons had so much difficulty in Game 1. Remember, they had about a 13,000 gold lead come siege time at the 40 or so minute mark. They just simply couldn't fight into Ven. This Opwash threw out a couple corpses, exploded them, chunked the targets, but cleared the wave instantly, and the Dragons just could not find that opening. And so the question is are some of these draft adaptations going to make sieges easier? And that's what Myth has just talked about. Now, the Ravens would love to not even get to that point, right? They'd love to get off to a better start this game. We surmised that maybe it was a bit of play on field issue in Game 1 rather than composition. I think this Hibo pick opens up some new avenues for Scream this game. The Najah didn't quite get it done until the end. We know how annoying Hibo is for pros to play against. And you're finding the backline potentially here, Myth. Later on in the game, maybe more opportunities.
Yeah, I think Hibo is a very good answer to Marty. When Marty has seen the most success, it's when BMT was allowed to free cast because there wasn't exactly threat directly onto him. Blink Water Spout into Crushing Wave is going to kill him. Yep. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. If you're 6 slotted, that's just how it's going to pan out. You have to Aegis before. If you beads after the Water Spout, you're just CC immune while already in the air, and you're going to land into your death. So there is going to be constant threat under this Marty in the team fight. And I love the damage curve of Hibo as well. Najah, a little bit more backloaded. Yeah. Need to get the sash, then the ultimate. Hibo makes it happen very fast.
Is it a 2-0, or are we going to game number 3? We will head down to J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug to find out.
Yeah, we got to see if the Highland Ravens will close this one out in a 2 clean, or the Jade Dragons going to have that fight back and find that push to push us to game 3. We got to get through this second game first. Thank you so much, Dave and Mifflin, Dave, for the intro. It is J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug for game number 2. And Trelly, Jade Dragons adopting a little bit of what the Camelot Kings did yesterday. We've been seeing a lot of previously in week 1 of SPL where Martichoras was going over to the duo lane. BMT brings it out yesterday in the set against the Camelot Kings, runs it mid with an extra hunter on the team. Worked out really well for the Kings. You like the composition the Jade Dragons have built around this double hunter to try and make it work against the Ravens?
I do. They have plenty of magical damage with that Cthulhu, and it looks like the sustain route is still what the Jade Dragons are looking for. And they also have lots of CC. With LASBRA on the Hun bats, that is going to be a good look. My one issue that I have, and this is something that I talk about a lot, you guys may think, man, Trelly sounds like a broken record, but it always comes up. If you go Hun bats, who is pulling the beads, right? LASBRA, if you watch last game, LASBRA is not one to pull the beads. He is one to capitalize on the beads being pulled, right? So if the beads are already down, he's going to go in, he's going to have a good time. Who is pulling the beads for LASBRA? So far, not too many options, and because of that, right, he might struggle a bit until late game when he can actually, you know, ult twice in a fight. Early on, you're going one fear, no evil, and then you're coming back in the next minute or so, and if you're not, then you just wasted that opportunity. It's going to be a lot of solo lane camping, I imagine, just because Haddix, of course, doesn't have those beads, and I guess in this case, Screammmmm actually started the blink, so if you can catch him out without crushing wave, maybe you have some avenues to get aggressive there. It's just, I think Hunbatz really succeeds with another beads burner on the team and or, you know, another way of getting those beads down just somehow. So in this case, I think LASBRA might be playing more passively, sitting back, not getting too aggressive until he gets more of an opportunity to try and camp that solo lane.
Blink in by LASBRA on top of Screammmmm, but doesn't find the damage they need to jump in to slow him down over at Smash. Not enough damage to take him down. A couple more autos needed up against Screammmmm on the Hebo. Charlie, I don't want to derail us too early, but the phrase broken record, how many years away are we before people don't fully understand, like at least the younger generation read us in, but Screammmmm? Alright, my apologies for trying to have a little bit of fun there. Screammmmm and LASBRA having some fun under the tier 1 tower. Screammmmm undeterred at all by that. Takes first blood, will trade out his life.
I'm amazed that he goes for that. I mean,
That's just what Screammmmm brings, bro.
Yeah, it's worth. You get first blood. But, wow. I'm wondering if he cleared that with the squad. I'm wondering if he said, hey, Ven, you mind if I blink under tower to kill Dardez? Like, I'll take your laner out. Yeah, I'm going to give a kill over to LASBRA, but it's going to be worth it. I'm not going to miss.
You said I'm going to do it, and you're going to deal with it.
That's what I would bet. At least it works out. First blood for the Highland Ravens. Screammmmm going to get the better end of that trade. And luckily, LASBRA didn't take away any of the camps because they were all down, so right side of the map should be just fine. Screammmmm gets tier 2 do more. I did not expect it. And to answer your question, I would argue there are probably kids currently in high school that don't know what the phrase broken record means.
Unfortunate. Makes me feel old.
Have you ever actually used a record?
I personally have not, but that's because we never had a record player in my home. The farthest back we go is cassettes. And then we had one friend that had an 8-track player. That's about the furthest that I go back in my use of means of listening to music. I don't know where I was trying to, what the word I was trying to use. I don't want to say instrument. An instrument to use music. PBM gonna get locked down by Hurriwind. A purple buff invade does go the way of the Dragons as far as the buff is concerned. And they'll be able to get out of the fight as well. It's not enough. Hurriwind using his kit to lock down Mike a little bit early before BaRRaCCuDDa could get there.
I'm curious as to what prompted the switch up here, because Ven, in game number 1, did not go the Tainted Steel, but this time felt he needed more anti-heal, or more likely it was probably the survivability aspect of the Tainted Steel. Once you upgrade it, you get some more tank stats, whether you go into the magical variant or the physical variant. I'm thinking that was the call. Ven said, hey, I want to survive more. Yeah, the anti-heal is going to help, and that's something that Outwash comes baked in already. But just wanted that extra survivability. Didn't want to get bullied by LASBRA and made the change up. Remember, Haddix did just ult. He was trying to pull Nika's ult. Did not end up doing it. How much damage do we have? Not enough. That crushing wave would have never finished Nika. So Screammmmm just going to go back to farming. But I like the idea. You see that cavalry charge and you know, hey, there could be a gank coming. And Nika, he's patient. He's going to hold on to Descent into Madness. He doesn't want to get CC chained. And he's going to live to see another day. I lied.
Screammmmm goes in, backed up under the tower. Nika turns it back around. And that's just what Screammmmm brings to the table. Constant aggression. Live or die. Screammmmm will get active. And fortunate for Haddix, it will only end with that one kill over in the solo lane. Had LASBRA maybe an extra second, maybe a Fear No Evil could have rung through and turned that one back around, but maybe with Nika too far away, recognizing didn't quite have the kill there. But now 2 for the Jade Dragons, 1 for Nika, 1 for LASBRA.
J-Mac, if I had a nickel for every time Screammmmm dove tower this game, I would have 2, which is not a lot.
But it's weird it happened twice.
But it's weird that it happened twice in 4 minutes.
That's the caveat. In 4 minutes he's done that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're 12 minutes, yeah, makes sense. But blinking in once is a little strange, and then he just wanted to confirm the kill that time around. So Screammmmm, he's already shown us the kind of gameplay he's going for, right? This is not the, I'm going to farm until I have damage online, Hebo. This is the, I'm going in. If I have ultimate crushing wave is being used, and I am trying to get aggressive with it. And that's just the Scream gameplay. And I'm happy to see it, but a little bit too far there. It didn't seem like they had the confirm.
Fear No Evil on top of Scream and won't get a chance to use another Fear No Evil. This Venenu slammed on by the damage of Dardez. We force under the tier 1 tower. Highland Ravens, the jungler, the only one with deaths on the team. But at least for the Jade Dragons, it's benefiting by getting kills spread across the board. Remember,
Look how far BaRRa has to go.
We've been seeing this so much now. This is, in my opinion, this is one of the cooler mechanics now with the leash, is being able to just drag it so far away because you're under so much threat.
Yep.
I wish my carries would do this in game so we would stop getting invaded.
Nope. They 50-50 it right in the hole, and they don't pull it out of the buff at all. No. They're just saying, hey, if someone walks up, curses, and that's all you get. You get a VVGS, and you go back to lane a little bit XP behind.
And then a ping to your support. Where are you? I need help.
Yeah, and sometimes you're there. You're trying to pull it away. You're actively trying to remove the buff, but it's not going to work out. PBM hiding in the stealth grass takes a lot of damage. That's a full Rod of Tahuti purchase for Venenu, and that means that he's going to be absolutely swinging. I'm curious to see the stealth grass mechanics employed in this game, because we saw from the Solar Scarabs some interesting. If you put, I would say, 95% of the grass in a wall and then just hide in the little bit that's sticking out, you can still fit like 3 members of your team stealthed in the corner. And I believe Inbound went for some clutch ganks with a play like that. I'm curious if Dardez and the team have been, you know, getting some stealth grass mechanics coming their way from the Marty. Not often that he gets through, but when he does, could open up some mechanics. With that being said, though, BaRRaCCuDDa has been having to stay pretty far back, but here comes Scream. He's looking at PBM.
He's by
Votes at the tower.
BaRRaCCuDDa's backing him up. And now it's a dive in by Scream. This one is not unnecessary to go under the tier 1. It's a kill for Hurriwind. But the majority of the damage for Scream this time through. Venenu up against Dardez, forced back into the tier 1 tower of his own. But the Highland Ravens now punch back against the Jade Dragons. And LASBRA on the way. Fear No Evil available, but seeing 3 near full health targets on the Ravens. LASBRA maybe making the wise decision not to jump in.
Yeah, at this point, Mike's pretty happy about that one. Again, Vote dashed in and was at tower level, and Scream tunnel visioned onto the hell support. It ends up working out. You lose 1, but Vote was able to just walk back to base. I think BaRRa was happy to just have a kill in his lane because he was getting pressured out, but I'm thinking Vote could have died there as well. I guess they didn't want to deal with the ultimate, right? You're stalling up in the air for so long. You take the guaranteed pick, you move on with your day, and that's going to be the call. But I think PBM's happy with that one. He was able to get Vote out, and as a support, sometimes that's more worth it, you know? Unless you're just hard carrying and you're worth a lot of gold, PBM's happy to let himself die for his carry.
A lot of lessons to pull for the casual audience through there is pull your buffs away if you think you're under an invade. And also don't tunnel vision the carry every time if you have a free kill on the support. As the Highland Ravens do just that. They take down Mike just earlier on.
Run, BaRRaCCuDDa.
BaRRaCCuDDa, he's going to show it off again. He says, all right, cool. I'm under threat. I'm going to pull the buff back to my tower. That way Vote and Mike can't steal it away. I think he actually managed to pull the big one before the tower takes it, so he'll get full value of the gold this time through. But now we're the Highland Ravens try and put a little bit of pressure here. Scream has been able to finally fight back after starting out a 1-3, now going 1-3-1 after the assisted kill onto Mike. Where does Scream go, Charlie, if you're piling this hubwall with at least the pacing that the Ravens have been able to establish?
Well, he's already went to mid tower and right tower, so left tower seems to be the call for me. That's where I'd be going. Vote dashes in. Looks to get aggressive. This is a true 4v4, actually. I was going to say, Ven's a little bit late to the party, but everyone on the Jade Dragons besides Nika is making the rotation over to the shield buff. Possibly looking to find an ultimate from LASBRA, but it looks like that's all. That's the end of the scrapping over on the left side of the map, but yeah, Scream's dove every tower except for that left one, so if I'm him, that's where I'm headed.
Attempted invade on Vote's purple. Hurriwind zoning with the silence. But not enough confidence from the Ravens to stick around. Maybe without full knowledge of where Dardez was on rotation immediately. Backs the Highland Ravens away. So we'll see where Scream ends up going. It is left side of the map. Will it be the left side enemy tier 1 as you highlight? It's the only tower he hasn't dove just yet. So far hasn't needed to in order to try and fish for a kill, but the Dragons start up the Fury.
They don't know.
The Ravens are unaware. Scream is trying to look for Vote inside the lane, and Well, now they're going to be caught a little silly. Are the Highland Ravens, the Jade Dragons, take a Gold Fury for absolute free.
Yeah, and Blink Crushing Wave would have been a great steal attempt. Just they didn't have the ward coverage, didn't have the vision, as you said. Scream was still looking for Vote to walk up. He's like, "Where's my kill? I want to dive this tower, can't go for it." And now, Jade Dragon's going to continue pulling ahead. Pyromancer isn't quite the option just yet, so that's just going to be all the fighting that'll happen for now. I do like the attempt, though. I mean, you could tell that Scream is trying to find some kill attempts with this Crushing Wave while it's available. It's still hitting relatively hard with just the Doom Orb and the Tier 2 Spear of Deso or Spear of the Magus. I guess it could be even a Divine at this point if you're trying to get that extra anti-heal online. But the real issue is that you don't have the damage to use on the left side of the map. Once the Gold Fury goes down, I don't think the Jade Dragons push up anymore. Scream's not going to have that opportunity to look for many more ganks because you're not fighting on the left anymore. Now you're looking towards the right. Pyromancer's coming in shortly. That's where the grouping is going to happen. And LASBRA has been really good about hovering around where Scream is. If he knows Hebo's in the area, LASBRA's there. Reason is, if Crushing Wave goes down, you get a free kill. That's CC immunity. There's no beads online for Scream just yet. He's in a bit of trouble if he gets caught out.
Hurriwind spotted by Dardez. Push back to the Tier 1 tower. Start up his green buff, get some help from Venenu to clear that one out. Now level 10 for Hurriwind. Talking about maybe some differences in builds, at least for the supports. We've been seeing a little bit of back and forth and a little bit of change-ups. Kind of across a lot of teams. We saw a Breastplate of Valor start yesterday. I believe that was by Wrong You on the Emoja. Now PBM going for a Heart Ward Amulet. Something we haven't seen, in all honesty, Charlie, for a while in the support role.
Yeah, it's been a very popular solo item. You get the Heart Ward of the Stronghold, but have not seen too much. I guess when you're worried about triple magical, triple mages, Scream, Ven, and Hurry are all going to provide that magical damage, so get some magical defense for your team, as well as some extra MP5. Goes a long way if you're spamming abilities, which Hell is going to be doing throughout the entirety of this match. I mentioned the Pyromancer, and that's where PPM is just sort of hovering around, while Scream is trying to take a 1v1 with LASBRA. Not going to form anything out, though. It looks like just following around, hugging the wall. They both know exactly where the other one is. Where's the rotation come through, though? I think Scream is confident in the 1v1, but if Vote shows up, you're getting sniped as well, and that's not going to be good.
LASBRA still closing the gap. Vote hit by the knockup. Trying to get a few shots through the wall, but BaRRaCCuDDa showing up now. Crushing Wave will bail out, but now Scream's got to use the beads against LASBRA. The final snipe is there from Vote, and the damage from BaRRA is absent. Vote walks away with under 100 HP, and Scream goes down for the 4th time this game.
Yeah, BaRRaCCuDDa trying to fight versus LASBRA there. Not going to go for it. Just go for the steal on the buff over the wall. As you said, Scream 1 and 4. It was close. I mean, you almost have that damage, but you need the water hands on the landing, and they aren't going to be able to find it. Pyromancer is started up here. This is the benefit of having a Hunter in mid lane, and Nika does make the rotation over as well. So the Highland Ravens are going to have a hard time trying to defend. Hurriwind throws out the ult just to slow some damage. You get some tick damage on the Pyromancer. Give an option to try and go for a steal. But it looks like that's not going to be the pull they're looking for, so the Jade Dragons back up for the time being. Vote makes the rotation over, though. I mean, if your Rama's here, you better be going for the pull, and it looks like that is the call. LASBRA's over and left.
Venenu in mid has a lot of damage to try and steal this one away. Does not do so. The Dragons get Pyro, and BaRRaCCuDDa under the Tier 1 tower up fighting LASBRA loses that one. Questionable. Exactly what BaRRaCCuDDa was trying to do in that fight against LASBRA. Maybe LASBRA body blocked an auto attack and then from that point able to turn it right back through. But the Jade Dragons, they net their first kill on somebody that isn't Scream on the Highland Ravens this time through and get themselves a Pyromancer. Now Mike, caught out by Venenu and Hurriwind, will be able to be fine. Dardez up in the sky to rain some damage back at Hurriwind. The Dragons, with all the benefit in the world, maybe a little more with the Sony Fury.
They've got it. Hurriwind and Ven are walking forward. Ven doesn't have ultimate. It's getting relatively low. It's up to Hurry to go for the steal, and it looks like doesn't quite have the damage. He's going to have to let that one go. The Jade Dragons are dominating the map at the moment. I like the gank attempt there, but Hurriwind was going on to PBM, and Ven just wanted to go on to Dardez. But with Death from Above, you're pretty much always living that gank, right? You just go up into the sky, you immune that corpse explosion, you're going to be just fine. I think they probably didn't have the damage to kill either way. So PBM, he's relatively tanky, and they just go for what they can. But And using all that damage and using that ultimate, open up the opportunity for the Fury to go down. And the Jade Dragons are going to continue their tear throughout the map. And to your point, I think BaRRa was pretty confident no one was around. Tries to push the tier 2 tower, or the tier 1 tower, and LASBRA's like, I'm really sorry about this, but you're not getting this tower, man. I'm going to make sure you go down. Didn't even have ultimate, didn't need it, as you said, because he body blocked the auto, and that's an easy 1v1 for LASBRA.
Once allies, now enemies on the battleground. LASBRA versus BaRRaCCuDDa there, but BaRRa will be just fine, falling a little bit behind to vote in the farm department 14 to 15 between those two. It's slight XP right now for the Jade Dragons, as well as a decent little early spike of gold, about 2k to the name of the Jade Dragons as far as gold is concerned up ahead. Maybe nothing to be overly concerned about if you're the Highland Ravens or fans of the Highland Ravens in this game. It was an action-packed early game, Charlie. I mean, we had tower dives at level 2, level 3. Now a dive on BaRRaCCuDDa. The dash gets blocked by LASBRA, and there's no chance out there. Just great blink by Laz to stop that one out and put a third kill on the board for himself.
And you could tell LASBRA was like, oh, BaRRa knows. Oh, he doesn't know. Oh, wait, he knows. He doesn't. He was going back and forth in the jungle. He didn't quite know if BaRRa was onto that gank. There was no ward vision down low. It was all up top. And now the grouping towards tier 2 tower is the call here for the Jade Dragons. Where the Ravens, nowhere to be seen. Scream's going to step up, but it looks like there's not enough minions. They can't really commit to this tier 2 tower. Unless they have a runic bomb, they do, and they're going to drop it. Tier 2 goes down 16 minutes in. And that's just a good grouping. Easy push there and some gold in the pocket there for the Jade Dragons.
And now the Highland Ravens without any safety for BaRRa on the left side of the map. He'll have to be a little bit more careful about how he tries to get some of his farm, as the Ravens now start to fall a little further behind the Jade Dragons. 3,000 gold up after taking Fury in a couple of towers for the Jade Dragons. LASBRA getting off to an early roll. We saw this in game number 1. It came down to late game sieging. That was the difficult part for the Jade Dragons. But Charlie, with a composition like this one for the Dragons, you got the double hunter. You've got a Cthulhu to dive into the back line of these enemy players. Do you like the chances of a Jade Dragon siege a bit more at this comp compared to what we had in game number 1?
Yeah, much better. I mean, LASBRA can blink in, use the ultimate, retreat, and he still gets value. On the Serqet, you can't really do that. You're not pushing out a whole team just by way of blinking in. Serqet's a very single target. And also, double hunter, as you said. It is much easier. PBM going to have to cleanse, but a beautiful catch, and Scream's actually taking more damage than he's doing.
Venenu now trying to chase out Dardez from his landing. Empty the crypts. Gets the Peds and the Aegis away. Ultimate from Hurry just off the mark from connecting to anybody. Now it's Venenu, and Hurriwind turned back on. PBM tries to slow things down. Scream, Hurriwind, everybody low. Hurry with the knock-up, and the snipes from Boat from downtown will take him away. And the Jade Dragons put 7 on the board, a tier 1 tower, and maybe a little further as they push into tier 2.
Now going over the tier 2, Haddix is here. Has cavalry charge to try and go in for a stun, but he's getting stun chained himself. And he's going to have to retreat, but Scream hasn't went back to base yet. He's still not looking too healthy. Does not want to step up to the onslaught of damage that the Jade Dragons have, and that Pyromancer is looking mighty appetizing here for the 4 members of the Jade Dragons. LASBRA went over to left. He stopped BaRRa from going for that tower once again. He wants to make sure that there's no comeback mechanic, and that's going to be enough. Pyro goes down. PBM is going to be able to pick up that runic bomb. LASBRA blinks in, though.
Fear no evil to keep BaRRaCCuDDa, and another dash body blocked. BaRRaCCuDDa cannot catch a break on the Ishtar this game, or it will catch Nika and slow down the Jade Dragons. But BaRRa caught out of position once again. The Jade Dragons net themselves a Pyromancer kill, and Fire Giant with double hunter. An easy call to put it on the menu.
Haddix teleports in. Hurriwind does have ultimate, and Scream's got the crushing wave as well. Haddix actually has the wrap around here. Are you looking for the fight, or are you looking for the steal? So far, good damage on a Dardez.
It's a fight for Scream, but Vote takes him right down. Dardez on landing will die to Venenu, but the damage is ring true right back to him. Venenu goes down. Haddix trying to keep him busy. PBM locked in the Fire Giant. Maybe getting the last shot there. The Dragons get fire, and a delayed deicide against the Highland Ravens. BaRRaCCuDDa just respawning, but only 3 of the Dragons can benefit from the fire.
Yeah, it seems like a very split opportunity there. Are you going for the pick on a Dardez? Are you going for the Fire Giant steal? Of course, you're just going for the fight. It seems like that was the only call. Afterwards, low HP, everyone just sort of dogpiled around the Fire Giant and went for their steal attempts. BaRRaCCuDDa having a rough game. A lot of pressure sent over to that duo lane. 0-3 has not been able to step up. Vote on the other side, 4-0. Having the game of his life. This Rama can do no wrong. Doing so much damage throughout the entirety of this map. The snipes are on point. LASBRA as well. 4-0-6. He's been a part of all but 2 kills so far for the Jade Dragons. And it just seems like, I mean, might as well shout out Nika too. 3-0-4. They're all popping off. And I think PBM is just sitting around making sure the team's sustained. Those cleanses are on point. Dardez has had a relatively quiet game. He's been the target more often than not, I guess half the time here on this Martichoras, but still providing that damage that you would expect. It is a difficult comp to fight into from behind. The Highland Ravens are grouping up. They're stepping up. They're not just, you know, forfeiting and saying, okay, you guys can take this farm. They are trying to defend. Just has not been going their way so far. They get a bit stronger underneath Phoenix, but as I already highlighted and you asked about, the double hunters, the Hunbats, I think this comp is much better at sieging than the one the Jade Dragons had in game number 1.
Just under a minute and a half left for Fire Giant buff for the Jade Dragons. Only a couple of towers left to siege. LASBRA doesn't care about the siege. She wants to fight on Scream, but end up losing out on that trade out. Half HP for LASBRA as Venenu and Hurriwind will chase him out, but while the fight is happening in mid, while LASBRA and Nika are distracting 3, the other 3 members of the Jade Dragons are pushing up the right side of the map. Tier 2 tower, no Phoenix. As Scream and Hurry were able to make their way back to base, but
LASBRA's going to find BaRRa again.
Oh no, BaRRa, don't stay up here much longer, man. Just get the minions and back right away. There you go. I don't think LASBRA can catch you this time.
It was close. I think that was pinged out. I saw some pings heading BaRRa's way. They're like, hey, how many times has this guy caught you out? You better make sure you back. This time is able to make it safe. Haddix stops the Phoenix siege over on right. So now it's just one last tier 2 tower to go for. Remember, this is still an early Fire Giant. It's going to fall off in 26 seconds. We're only 22 minutes into this game. Not break the base territory yet unless some massive picks happen. But you can really tell the damage differential off of how much I just saw BaRRa do to Nika. If you look closely at Nika's health bar, nothing happened. So.
Oh yeah, no, did not move. Moved a little bit this time, and maybe that's helped to the tier 2 tower. Half HP or less now for Nika. Another tower shot goes through and will force the Cthulhu back. Haddix goes in with the cavalry charge to the back line. We'll only be able to find LASBRA, who gets the Fear No Evil off before it goes through. Beads and now turn and burn right back onto Haddix. Snipes on Scream are not enough. LASBRA will take down Haddix. And the Jade Dragons, even despite Nika falling low, they turn it around and find 1 pick on the Ravens.
Yep, low health bar is all well and good, but they weren't able to find that kill. Tier 2 tower drops, and 1 more Pyromancer to go here for the Jade Dragons. I mean, the Ravens had their best opportunity there because Nika was being actually tanked up by the tower. A lot of damage coming his way. They didn't have the chase down, and LASBRA has a fantastic ultimate. I mean, that Fear No Evil CC's Haddix, make sure that Scream can't step forward. I think if Scream's able to walk in and actually close gap, Nika should be falling there, but just great peel from the jungler. Doesn't seem like the perfect play from this Hunbats is going to stop anytime soon. He actually goes and buys a full Pestilence in that last slot, just in case you were worried that he was going to be burst down by some of this magical damage. LASBRA went ahead and dealt with that real quick, buying a full-on Pestilence off that back.
So defense now for LASBRA. He's full build, first on his team. But maybe no surprise being 5-0-6 on the Hunbats. Fire Giant started up for the Jade Dragons. No response from the Ravens on that side of the map. Instead, it's LASBRA defending the left tier 2, Venenu and Hurriwind. Came out to try and deal with that one, but immediately thwarted by the fact that there's a Hunbat sitting in that lane to defend up. Fire Giant on all 5 of the Dragons this time. No fight back from the Highland Ravens, and with a 11,000 gold deficit going into this next siege, it's difficult for the Highland Ravens to defend. Charlie, what are some of the tools that the Ravens do have to try and push back some of these sieges?
Well, they still do have Empty the Crypts. That's always going to be a great tool, despite the fact that Ben's fallen a little bit behind here, as comparatively to how he was in game number 1, that is. This Outwash still does good burst damage. It can do a lot of anti-heal to a large large radius, that sort of thing does start to add up when you're trying to siege underneath the Phoenix. The issue is, you're up against double Hunter, there's so much CC, the Cthulhu is a massive target that's hard to deal with as well. I think the Jade Dragons just have to wait for LASBRA to make his play, maybe go in, just pop Descent into Madness. Haddix is pretty far up here though, might be forced to retreat once he realizes that he is not alone in this mid lane. But these Phoenixes are going to be still relatively difficult to defend in a 5v5 setting. I still think they should go for a 3-2. It works out very well. It's just you get much more value as a Cthulhu when you're with the team, right? If you're just in a 2v2, you're not wanting to use Ascent into Madness to try and win that trade. You want to make sure you hit the massive amount of CC on these carries. You want to be knocking up Scream, knocking up Ven. Those are the kind of plays that Nika wants to make, and because of that, they may be forced into a split they don't like. LASBRA over on the left. It looks like Vote and Dardez are sort of hovering in mid, while PBM is going to go to the right side of the map.
Just spread out. On the Jade Dragons, a 1-2-2 split to make things awkward for everybody playing and watching, in this case, trying to keep track of everything. LASBRA will rejoin and make it a 3-2 split, as Haddix will rejoin Hurriwind and Scream. So the frontliners plus jungle for the Highland Ravens to defend up against the Bird. The Jade Dragons will at least separate out their carries to try and put some threat on both fronts of these Phoenixes. PBM making sure to keep himself and Dardez sustained up under this Phoenix. Runic Bomb is in pocket for Vote, so if they can get a minion wave and get Vote in close enough to the Phoenix, could be a quick pick on a Bird for the Jade Dragons. But Scream is being constantly pulled back, walks right back into the acid rain, and he's going to have to go back to Fountain to re-heal up.
Dardez just does way too much damage here, and the worst part is the siege on right is the fake one. The Jade Dragons are not trying to siege with PBM and Dardez. They're trying to siege elsewhere. I mean, Vote and Nika have a much better chance at going for the Phoenix. You got to group up in a full 3-man if you're trying to actually do damage here, and so far that's not been the case. But poking out consistently over on the right side of the map, and what have they got for it, J-Mac? Not much damage onto that Bird, right. I think Dardez is putting in work, but that's going to be it. This fire is over. It was a tier 2 in mid. That's about it. We talked about the Jade Dragon siege in game number 1. We're starting to see those same sort of issues. Notably, Enhanced Fire Giant is not in play yet. That changes things. I mean, LASBRA can walk in without minions and solo a Phoenix if given the opportunity with Enhanced Fire Giant. So that does make things a bit easier. And I think the Jade Dragons know that as well. They're saying, hey, we've got a massive lead. So far, we haven't messed up anything. We're just playing this game a little bit slower. Once we get Enhanced Fire Giant, that's when we make a full-on commit towards these sieges. Let's just let Dardez poke someone out, as we've seen him do time and time again. And then we'll blink in with the Fear No Evil. Then we'll see the blink in, Descent into Madness. That's when these birds are going to start to get actually targeted. I think it's a smart call. I don't think this is a roast on the Jade Dragon siege at all. I think they recognize, hey, EFG makes this a lot easier. Let's just play it slow and go for that.
So still about 2 minutes until that can happen for the Jade Dragons. So maybe now the question arises is,
3K for LASBRA.
Do the Dragons sit inside a Fire Giant for 2 minutes and wait for it to go enhanced before they take that one down? Do they just grab Fire Giant, try another siege, and go, oh well, this one didn't work, now we go for Enhanced Fire Giant after? Do we even see the Highland Ravens step up? A couple are about to show themselves on map. Over to the tier 2 tower. The Dragons will not go for fire. Instead, Vote going back to defend. But that's all that the Highland Ravens wanted, was just a tier 2 tower and a little bit of extra push for themselves, should they be able to fight back against the Dragons.
That's just a smart call. They recognize, hey, the Jade Dragons, if they go for Fire Giant now, they're trolling. And if they don't, they're not going to be in left lane. They're pushing up right. So we can just go ahead and grab a free tier 2 tower. I think you're right to call that the Jade Dragons should not be doing that EFG. They already tried their siege once with regular Fire Giant. Doesn't work out. They need that Enhanced Fire Giant. So set up some ward vision. Set up some stealth grass. Set up your campfire. Get some marshmallows, because you're not doing fire for another 55 seconds. In the meantime, find some free farm. I'd be willing to bet that LASBRA does not go to this Fire Giant, though, because he wants to find those 1v1s. He's got a 3K pot in hand. He can 1v1 Scream if he finds them out. Pull some beads. That's sort of the play that he's been making so far. But it looks like he's going to group up with the team for now. Sort of hover around mid, clear those waves, and see if he can go in the meantime. But Enhanced Fire Giant in 30 seconds, and the rest of the team is just all bundled together in the stealth grass.
They're hanging out. They got the campfire going. They're roasting some s'mores.
Roasting on the ward.
Yeah, using
it's
the ward.
It's got some fire.
Yeah, I got to imagine there's a decent bit of heat that comes off of that ward. If not, they could always just, step in the Fire Giant pit and just use the lava around there to toast things up. Fire started. 10 seconds till it turns enhanced. Want to make sure Dardez stops in it a little early just because that dot damage from his autos. You don't want that to accidentally take it away, but enhanced Fire Giant now to the Jade Dragons, and as you highlight, simplifies the siege for the Dragons. What sort of split will we see? Well, a split for the Dragons. Hey, everybody go back to base. Spend up what maybe little gold in pocket we have, upgrade some relics, maybe buy a couple of extra wards and potions, get set up for our next siege.
So much damage come from LASBRA. Again, that 3K pop before he even upgraded his relics. He was confident they're going to be fighting relatively soon. BaRRaCCuDDa needs to get some more damage online. He does have the Ornate Arrow. He's got some extra crit chance as long as he's got some gold in his pocket. But it's just the Demon Blade, right? It's not enough to really burn through these tankier targets. Notably, Haddix did get an Emperor's Armor, and I think that will help out if Nika's tanking up. Thinks the Phoenix, because when you're that massive, you don't really notice the Phoenix shards start to add up, and then you start realizing, wait, I'm getting chunked by this thing. Every couple seconds, I take 400, 500, 600 damage, and that will start to add up again if it's a full 5v5, which I think the Jade Dragons would want with a Cthulhu, but so far their siege attempts have been very split. They've got 2 ADCs. I like the idea of PBM and Dardez on one side, and the rest of the team with Vote in mid. But that's where Haddix is. That's where that Emp Armor is. And that's going to send LASBRA over to the right side of the map for now. We might see another 1-2-2. I guess in this case, 2-2-1.
So, Jade Dragons, they've already used up half of their Fire Giant buff, going back to base, resetting, and moving up to Phoenix. Now they got the other half of it to take a Phoenix. But as you mentioned, with this awkward split that they have, and Haddix having the Emperor's Armor, just dealing with at least LASBRA for the time being. Hurriwind starting to feel the pressure of the damage from Dardez. The Highland Ravens hold on at the birds for now, but one auto attack here, one auto attack there from Dardez, slowly whittling down the HP of that left Phoenix. The other two currently untouched by the Jade Dragons. The Highland Ravens still stand tall to defend.
This left side bird is definitely the target. It's getting poked out now. No one is stepping up to Dardez, and it's going down quickly. And it looks like the siege begins, and Scream blinks in.
Scream goes in, Hurriwind dashes in, and that's going to put him out of position. Hurriwind should go down here to one more shot. It's from LASBRA's Fear No Evil. Take him out. Scream hit by the knockup from Nika. Dardez raining damage from the sky, and it's a lot on the Venenu, but not quite enough. The Phoenix still stands, even if only for an extra second, and LASBRA goes in. BaRRaCCuDDa aces the damage and a quick dash out. Not blocked this time, but LASBRA, he'll get stunned. Haddix doesn't able to find the stun from his ultimate instead. It's a retreat from the Highland Ravens. The Jade Dragons, their EFG has gotten them one Phoenix, maybe a second one if they stick around to step up.
But look at the ultimate. Scream and Ven still have access to Crushing Wave and empty the cribs. BaRRaCCuDDa could have made some massive plays there as well, but they just decided to go away. I think Hurriwind dashing in was a big misplay. It seemed like the fight was going well. They decided to chase down. That's a bit unfortunate. But I guess Scream held on to Crushing Wave while the snipes were coming through. He trusted that it wouldn't kill, and he ends up living. But because of that, what are you planning on using the ultimate on? Not much. You lose 2 birds for essentially free. 2 Runic Bombs in tow here for the Jade Dragons. It looks like one more Enhanced Fire Giant coming their way, unless Scream is able to find a pick on LASBRA right now, which he doesn't have Blink, so he's going to have to stop. Yeah, he's not even going to be able to stop him naturally. I don't see the reason for saving those ultimates there. It just seems like the Highland Ravens are slowly waiting to lose this game now.
LASBRA just earned another 3K gold, by the way. Bought an Elixir of Defense this time.
Might as well.
Gonna be a little tanky. Already doing a lot of damage. Let's live maybe a little bit longer.
Let's see how this goes. They've got ults.
Ambush from the Ravens.
But Bear is clearing.
Is there a ward is the question to spot them. They haven't walked over a single one of them yet. This could be big for the Highland Ravens. The fire started. The Dragons are caught unawares. Hurriwind, Scream. They all dive in. Fear No Evil already expended. The Dragons get the Fire Giant, and they're winning the fight as well. Everybody getting low on the side of the Highland Ravens. Nika in the middle of all 4. Snipes from Vote. The damage on the Scream is too much. He has to Crushing Wave out. Vote takes out Venenu. BaRRaCCuDDa trying to deal with Nika, but he's got to deal with Dardez, who's wrapped back around. Vote has found the double kill. The ambush by the Highland Ravens does not work out. The Jade Dragons, they get 5 and they pick off 2.
And this is what I'm talking about. I understand the play, but again, Scream uses the ult defensively. They didn't go for a one-shot. They didn't go for a steal. I guess it just didn't work out for them. It just seemed like the Highland Ravens were slowly waiting to lose this game. They don't quite have the damage to try and stop this siege. Look at the Titan. It's already dead from those enhanced Oni minions.
Half HP. LASBRA's going to deal with Scream, who doesn't have the beads to stand up for this one. The Titan goes down swiftly. The Jade Dragons repel at the Fire Giant. They win the fight. And they can keep themselves alive for another game. Game 3, just around the corner. And it really feels like there was all the onus from the Highland Ravens to make that play. They go for it, but I think maybe what happened, Scream gets caught out by that Fear No Evil without his beads up.
Yep.
Can't go for that offensive play.
And regardless, they were so far behind. It was a 4v5. It was a miracle style of play. LASBRA has been putting on a clinic. They lost game number 1, the Jade Dragons that is, but he still looked phenomenal in the Serqet. This Batz, 0 answers to. He goes uncontested. When you're stacking up 2-3K pots, you're having a good game, and I think that I don't know what to do about it. Are you just going to deal with the Batz? You're going to try and get more aggressive, Scream on the Hebo. I didn't see too much value from after that first blood where he blinked into the tower. I'm thinking more aggressive junglers from Scream, something that can get active a little bit earlier.
The Jade Dragons, they're able to fight themselves back in and push themselves to a game number 3. LASBRA has another slamming performance, this time on the Batz. A 6-0 game for LASBRA to end this one out. The Jade Dragons, they push to game number 3. Can they keep up the momentum and take the set and knock away that undefeated record from the Ravens? We'll find out right after this break.
And just like that, we're on to a Game 3 between the Jade Dragons and the Highland Ravens. We figured this one would be a very competitive set, and it is indeed going the distance. After an answer back from the Jade Dragons, a Game 1 that the Dragons probably feel like they should have won, a Game 2 that they did win, and now we'll move on to a Game 3. And remember, things heat up a bit in these Game 3s, so if you want to watch any of our players' individual perspectives, all the players who are in studio are streaming their POVs live on their channel. So if you're wanting to watch the supports battle it out, AD carries battle it out, anyone who's here in studio will have their POV streamed on their channel for this Game 3 and all throughout the day, all throughout the weekend, and all year long. But we got to break down what happened in Game 2 before we start talking about Game 3. Miffin, it feels kind of similar to how mid-game of Game 1 went, where the Dragons really pulled their lead, but it happens a bit quicker here in Game 2.
Yeah, this one much more one-sided in the early game. The kills were followed by structures, which were followed by objectives for the Jade Dragons for the first 10 or so minutes, 15 minutes, I'd say. So they established a much larger lead that transitioned them in those objective team fights, the Fire Giant team fights, the late-game sieges, with a bit more behind them. But I think the primary shift and the thing that really elevates them were the two differences. It was Nika and LASBRA for the most part. I really liked how those two were able to form up in that front line. LASBRA creating so much space with the Fear No Evil. Nika just felt unkillable on this Cthulhu, even in spite of BaRRaCCuDDa trying to itemize against him. That was not the standard crit Ishtar that we've become accustomed to. That was a dominance, kin-size, Demon Blade Ishtar. So trying to deal with Nika, but unsuccessful because of all that healing from PBM as well. So the Jade Dragons right the ship in their composition. They found exactly what they needed to help out on that siege. And it looked like the sieges were going to go well. I mean, stopped a few times around these Phoenixes. The Highland Ravens, not a team that are just going to roll over and let it happen until this last team fight of the game. This defense around the Fire Giant that just goes really poor for the Highland Ravens. And the Jade Dragons able to tear through absolutely. And that's not even to bring up another major contention point that I think has been rearing its head here in the set and in the SPL at large. Marty just does really good damage. It's just so good at dealing with those frontliners. Top of the charts for Dardez at 27,000. Nobody even remotely close. And this seems to be a consistent now for Marty. Even if his win rate isn't the most impressive, he is always at the top of those damage charts.
Didn't even do that much individual killing. Set up most of those kills, cleaned up by the rest of the Jade Dragons. Vote at 606, but 9,000 less damage than his mid lane teammate. So it was a really good push and pull from Vote and Dardez, it felt like, as carries there in game number 2. And that's actually something we talked about during the draft, is the Marty plus Cern ban by the Ravens felt like a very distinct, just compositional ban in general. That's something that the Jade Dragons likely would have wanted to play. So I think the moment the Marty was left open, that was absolutely a viable avenue, and ended up being that case anyway. And so I think that's a point that the Ravens now have to look at here, Miff. Depending on what order the teams are picking in, I feel like if you're able to ban that Marty, you're still opening. There's still a door open for double AD carry composition, but I do think that is such a pivot point, a spearhead for the Jade Dragons. We'll see if the Ravens adapt and take away the Marty once again in game number 3. And the Ravens will be in first pick. I mean, there's still the AMC style of composition that the Jade Dragons like to play. But Martichoras is just so strong and so, a bit more difficult to dive onto. For now, it'll be the first Hellban we'll see this set.
Yeah, so the Highland Ravens probably fishing for a Nox selection again here. Haven't dealt with the Hell. That's one of the worst matchups. That cleanse really did put a whole lot of stopper to the aggression of the Highland Ravens. We'll see if the Jade Dragons respect that, or whether or not they even think that's necessarily what the Hell was for. If they decide to ban out that Nox, the Highland Ravens will be forced to adapt themselves. Marty banned out, though. Interesting. That, again, leads me to believe this still is a Nox fish. His Marty first pick seems to be pretty valuable nonetheless. The Highland Ravens previously had taken Guan Yu first overall for themselves. Phenomenal in the team fight if he could make it to that point from an even state, but has not been able to do so far. Nox banned out by the Jade Dragons, and I think that is essentially the confirmation. This Hell is an answer to the Nox. If Hell's been taken off the table, you're going to take off the Nox as well.
So, where the Highland Ravens put their priority, you mentioned the Guan Yu. Still an incredibly viable opportunity, but the Cern has been banned out a few times. Cern played twice as much as some of the carries that we've seen played. 14, but a 57% win rate across those 14 games.
That's
bodes pretty well.
That's 8 wins.
Is that right?
That's one more than 50%.
Okay,
yeah.
I was not keeping track. But I'll trust you. I trust you with my life, Myth.
God, I hope I'm right.
I trust you with my data. And Cern will be the first pick for the Highland Ravens. And relatively safe, right? I mean, I don't think you're revealing too much, but you're getting one of the priority hunters. Horus has been banned out, not only just in this set, but largely in this phase of the SPL so far. 100% pick ban rate left open, and the Jade Dragons want lockdown with their first 2.
Yeah, that's strong initiation, great repositioning, some sustain in your late game team fight, and then you've got LASBRA on what appears to be just his best pick in the game right now. Absolutely dominates on his last Serqet performance, and I would expect a repeat performance here. I'm trying to imagine what answers to Serqet are there. If I'm on the Highland Ravens and I see this Serq on the other side, how do I deal with it? There is the standard, okay, she's going to be largely single target. We could play a Spoiler Guardian style of play, put Hurry on maybe a Capri or a Ganesh to prevent the combo, or someone with a cripple, a Rord come up with that Ares as a very smart answer to the Serqet, locking down 50% of her kit. That's 2 of 4 abilities. But I don't think that Hurriwind is an Ares player. He's considering it nonetheless. Haven't seen it from him, I don't believe, at all since he's made the shift to support. It's a bit difficult to perform on. You need those chains to be landing consistently, but it's a smart answer. This is actually the exact composition that Aurora had taken the Ares into. It was the Horus and the Serqet both, so 50% of both of their kits locked down. Those chains, they're going to be pivotal to the team fight. He needs to be connecting with priority targets, and he has to do so consistently.
Good also at forcing out the ultimate from Serqet. That's a lot of the interaction that we saw. No escape, and then Serqet's got to use the ultimate to try to avoid it. Horus can get pulled back, those sorts of things. Nothing else forces the opposing squad to think just a little bit further. We mentioned, Myth, 6 kills seems to be the mark for LASBRA on this Serqet.
The glass ceiling.
Only one of them wins, but 3 games on Serqet recently, all 3 of them 6-1, one of them 6-2. Guess how many kills you got on Hunbats there in game 2, Myth?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Hold on, buying time. I'm scrolling down. It was 6. Wow, LASBRA, consistent, consistent. Okay.
He's on an absolute tear. 6 kills seems to be LASBRA's mark, and then a 4-kill game randomly in the middle. But really speaks volumes, I think, to the Dragons and how they've been funneling their play, a lot of it through LASBRA. Had a really good end to the year last year with that Bolt squad, and is starting off his year nicely with his Jade Dragons team. Would love to help improve them to 2-1 so far here in Season 10. So it does feel very different from 1-2, doesn't it, if you end up losing this Game 3. But a competitive roster nonetheless. Last couple of bans are going to roll through here. And a Wheelix ban from the Jade Dragons. Followed by Cthulhu for the Highland Ravens. Cthulhu did make life a bit more difficult for the Ravens there in Game 2. It was simply just too much rundown from the Jade Dragons team. Still sensing both teams needing a mid laner. But the Highland Ravens, a jungler, and also a mid laner. And Anubis, I suppose, could fill either role.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm trying to figure out which frontliner now the Jade Dragons wants to match up with this Horus. You don't want to all in on another mobility-based god because that Ares is going to be really annoying for anybody on the side of the Jade Dragons. I imagine, and Ares also almost just straight up prevents Artio, and I was thinking Artio could be a smart answer to the Cern and the Hercules. So telegraphed as that driving strike, the cripple field would find value, but Ares makes it miserable to be Artio. You don't want to be forced to picking up a bead. She doesn't have CC immunity inherent to the kit. You could stop the Searing Flame, but I don't think Ares necessarily cares about that. And if you're using stun on Ares, he's already created value for his team. Man, this Ares pick just stifling a lot of what the Jade Dragons could look for here. love what the Highland Ravens have pieced together. I mean, they've won that small bit of the chess match. Now it's about execution on field for this series, and I think a lot of onus on Hurriwind in that regard. But as for selections for the Jade Dragons, someone with good presence in a team fight. I'd like to see some AoE CC, someone that could just really control space. I hesitate to say Chaac. Oh, man. Okay. I had assumed that this is where it would go. That massive ultimate.
Why'd you
I
hesitate,
think,
Miff?
disruptive. I'm just not a Chaac believer, personally. But it does essentially fit that role that I'm calling for. It's just so susceptible to that early game. Chaac, not exactly mobile, pretty reliant on the torrent to get out of sticky situations. Again, Ares can prevent that, but that ultimate, I think, going to be very good at dealing with Hercules and Cern. I'm just not a Chaac believer. That's really it. That's the only reason I hesitate, because it fills everything I'd call for. Create space, control the area, AoE CC with a massive slow, a knock-up, a silence. It's all there. It's just something about Chaac. I don't know. There's just something about him.
Our SPL players aren't big believers in Chaac either. Only, I think, the one game played so far this phase. Been a lot more viable options out of solo from what we've seen. Agni for Ven. Let me double check this before I say it. Might be the first repeat game of a mid laner that we've seen. Oh no, he went Opwash in back-to-back games. So we've already seen a repeat from Ven. And we did see Agni against the Leviathans to start off their phase. So Ven had played 7 different gods through 7 different games. Game number 8 is a repeat. Back to the Agni. What's standing out to you here, Miff?
Dave, it's been a while since I've gone out on a limb and exposed my throat to criticism. I think the Highland Ravens have draft chasmed the Jade Dragons here. I love how Daji rounds out this draft. Now you've got 2 massive threats on CC immunity. You've only got the conditional CC immunity from Serqet. We already broke down how Ares essentially breaks the first 2 selections of the Jade Dragons. I'm not exactly certain that Chaac can match the output of a Hercules for displacement, for raw frontline potential. I mean, Morgan Le Fay is good, but into a Daji, your best peel tool is that Dragonflight. If she goes straight into the 1,000 cuts, the second ability, you've got that knockback immunity, so good luck getting her off of you. It's going to have to be damage alone. I really like what the Ravens have brought here, man. I mean, I'm heavily favoring the Ravens in this matchup.
I'm just visualizing a world where somebody gets pulled in by Ares or Daji and then immediately pulled in a second time, and how annoying that could possibly be. And even if that's not the exact scenario, right, it could be bead, CC immunity, and ultimate. I mean, if it's the conversation around if you're avoiding one pull, that makes you more susceptible to the other pull. I agree. I think there's good interplay between the Ares.
There's so much threat on beads. I mean, and it's not just them.
Stuns.
Yeah, Agni stun is enough. Hercules is enough. Cern, Wild Hunt. Yeah, it's enough. Like, there is so much threat on CC immunity here for the Jade Dragons.
There's a bit of lockdown though for the Dragons.
They've got some themselves, and they've got the damage follow-up, but the majority of their lockdown comes from Horus and Serqet. Chaac's got CC, but that's more so disruption as opposed to, okay, we're on this guy now. It's very seldom. It's Chaac ult's on them. Let's all jump on this one guy. That's not necessarily how it plays out. And if that's the case, and Serqet and Horus are the core of your CC, Ares as a frontliner prevents a lot of that. It's really scary, I think, to be a frontliner on the Jade Dragons. I think that's where the majority of the struggle is going to be, is how do we start these fights? How do we consistently get onto this back line? How are we going to deal with this poke from Agni, this range CC threat of Daji, even the disruption of this Hercules? I mean, I'm talking myself in circles right now.
The question is, do you want to buy yourself an opportunity to pull back? You're not going to get the chance. You're full in on the Highland Ravens. We'll see if the Highland Ravens get it done in Game 3. The thrilling conclusion of Ravens versus Dragons starts right now.
We're going to kick off our Saturday with a 3-game full set here between the Highland Ravens and the Jade Dragons. Ravens took game 1, Dragons convincing game number 2, And now it all comes down to the conclusive Game 3 between these two squads. It is J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug back to bring the action and the conclusion of this set. For the Ravens and the Dragons and Trelly, a lot of concerns for the Dragons by Mifflin on the desk. Feels like this Ares pick from Hurriwind maybe put a bit of the first nail in the coffin of the Jade Dragons. How you liking the Ravens' composition of what the Dragons have drafted?
Well, Miff is right that the Ares pick does thwart a lot of what the Jade Dragons want to do. But I would argue you have that same ability to just... I'm not saying the Ares pick isn't great. It is, and I think they have a lot of beads burned. I think their team fight is disgusting. But it does open up the idea here for the Jade Dragons to just try and focus out Hurriwind before the fight, right? You have this one linear target who's trying to make for these pulls. If you can get a good like Sunder off, if you can just focus out this Ares, he doesn't get the same amount of value. It's a pick-based composition. They've got Serqet, they've got Horus, they've got a lot of CC. So Snowball much more in favor of the Jade Dragons. I mean, they kind of have to go for it. If they're not, if they're going all the way to late game and try and deal with the Ares, the Daji combo, it's going to be difficult. The team fight is scary. But if LASBRA is going to be able to get active on this Serqet, you know, he can open up some doors for the team. So I'm not calling GG just yet. I think there is some outplay that Jade Dragons can employ.
Jade Dragons, Mike trying to get aggressive on Hurry. Misses the stun. Will still pelt a couple of autos. Right back at Hurry. Wave clear goes in favor of the Jade Dragons this time. Baron Hurriwind forced to sit under the tier 1 tower to clear out a couple of these minions, but won't lose any of them to the actual tower itself. It just feels, Charlie, like we're back to classic Mike style of play.
Yep.
It's been a while since we've seen some of the invades go through, but Mike's going to start him back up here in year 10. Scream going to get taunted by the LASBRA. A lot of damage from the Deathbane. Dash in from Ven just to prevent LASBRA from going further. A lot of shots fired through in the mid lane.
A lot of damage. That's what we'd expect from a Serqet early on, but Scream goes for the blink. Remember, LASBRA has to figure the CC immunity. He's got beads of his own. Looks like looking for LASBRA could be the call. Good CC there from Dardez, and that's what Morgan Le favoring. So much self-peel, so much group peel. The CC, the lockdown, all of which is annoying to deal with. That's going to be no first bloods happening in the mid lane for the time being. But because Ares got some good clear, and it looks like Mike has to respect the fact that Hurriwind's got that damage. They will have the clear advantage going into that shield buff, which is usually where the team starts scrapping if a jungler makes the rotation in, but LASBRA's actually going back to base. He's not going to make that rotation. He's heading home, which means Scream's going to have some pressure. He's going to be able to grab those rights.
Blink chain. Second one goes through the knockup. Stops the third one from going fully. And PBM may be saved by the good graces of Vote with that knockup, because otherwise, fire immediately after from Hurriwind could have kept that chase going for him and BaRRaCCuDDa. I think you're right to highlight the fact that junglers aren't over here. This is normally the time of the game when either LASBRA or Scream are trying to get active in one of these side lanes. Seems that their priority was more towards the right end, going for that cooldown buff. Scream benefiting from that one at the very least, but no eyes, at least on the jungler on the left side of the map. And with that high clear you were highlighting from Hurriwind, he and BaRRaCCuDDa can go ahead and take shield buff just to themselves.
And it looks like Scream wants to go for a blue buff invade. LASBRA's on the way. Haddix is here too. They want to go for a fight if possible, but it's not easy to go for this invade. Remember, the buff can be pulled far away. No mid laners are coming through. It's a true 2v2.
Scream trying to force LASBRA out. Quick teleport by Scream to get him back out of danger, so blue buff invade won't go in favor of the Ravens. Hurriwind still trying to keep up some pressure against the Jade Dragons. Able to pull one of the small purple buff minions away from them. So it gets at least a little bit of XP denial, but not the full buff that maybe Hurriwind was hoping for. Instead, he'll go back with BaRRaCCuDDa and help clear out their own buff. So to start this one out, Highland Ravens attempts at being aggressive, both in the left lane and in the mid. But so far, Charlie has not netted either team a kill just yet.
I am a bit disappointed in Hurriwind there, though. He had the opportunity to steal away Chester, and he decided not to. And I think that's you get the gold just for opening it. He didn't even have to bring him the whole way gone. He could have just opened the chest, walked him over, and denied 25 gold at the very least. And then he could have stolen it, got the movement speed. It also acts as a ward. Hurriwind was a little bit too tunnel vision there. Could have got some extra value. But remember, PBM, no beats, doesn't have access to the skies. Hurriwind's got an ultimate. That means PBM doesn't want to step up. He does not want to get pulled back in with no escape. So he's going to have to stay pretty far under tower to make sure that doesn't happen. Beads up in 13 seconds, though. Will Hurriwind go for the play? No, his beads and that blink are on relatively the same timer. So Hurry's not going to be able to blink in and make any sort of aggressive play. Just going to step forward towards the shield buff and give it over to BaRRaCCuDDa once again.
BaRRaCCuDDa really benefiting from all the extra neutral farm on the map. And the wave to wave still going even. Hurriwind will pull ult from Vote.
Oh, here comes Scream.
Beads from Mike. BaRRaCCuDDa here. Now with no beads from Mike, this is an easy pickings for the Highland Ravens. So long as those chains connect, and they do so. Pulls from Mike right back in, and it's Scream who gets first blood for the Ravens.
I mean, that's 3 ults for 1 kill, but what's happening in the meantime? Is LASBRA making active plays over on right? It looks like that is the call. He's going to try. Haddix is looking pretty tanky, though. I don't think it's going to be easy to find this kill unless he steps up, unless he driving strikes aggressively, and now he could die.
LASBRA goes in. Taunt. Not quite there. Ultimate from Nika to slow him down. There's an ult from LASBRA. Haddix waiting for that driving strike. 2 seconds left. Will push away. Still holding on to ult, but he's slowed down. Throws the boulder just to clear the wave because he knows he's not making out of this one. And LASBRA returns fire with a kill of his own.
It seems like once again, Haddix almost knew it was coming. He looked over. He's like, oh, I'm not going to step up. Then you see LASBRA go, oh, okay. He knows it's coming. I'm not going to go for the gank. And then immediately, he walks right forward and uses the driving strike. And that's going to be the freest gank you can get if you're LASBRA. At the very least, Nika gets poked out. So blue buff invaded there from Scream. He was able to claim his first blood on this Daji. You're just looking at beads now. You know that Vote used his. They're down for 100 seconds. PBM also used the beads. So duo lane is a great target for Scream to try and hover around. Leave Haddix alone on an island. Hopefully he doesn't get ganked. Hopefully he's able to survive, play safe. And just keep putting this pressure into BaRRaCCuDDa, into the duo lane. That's where your best option is at the moment for a Daji. So far it's been able to work here for the Highland Ravens, whereas LASBRA, he may just be delegated over to right lane. This shield buff that we highlighted that usually the junglers are looking at, LASBRA hasn't even been on the left side of the map. He's been all right for the moment now.
Both junglers sticking to opposite sides of the map. A little bit of aggression we saw between them in the mid lane with their mids. But outside of that, it's been focus on 2 different fronts for these junglers. Facing off, remember, an important game 3 for both these teams. Scream now going to make himself known on the right, but a quick torrent away by Nika will make sure that that teleport does not go the way of Scream. Instead, he'll go ahead and steal a Chester away.
There you go.
Take some gold, give himself a little bit of movement speed to start zooming through this jungle. Not sure if he spotted LASBRA, but I know LASBRA at least spotted Scream out there. And now with Vote in danger, chain just off the mark by Hurriwind. Vote should be fine. The Ravens keep up their aggression.
Yeah, still has that airstrike if the ultimate comes through. No beads for 20 seconds, but you're not too worried. Just going to be getting airstrike down here aggressively. What can BaRRa do in the meantime, though? Does he find the cripple? Not quite. Wild Hunt connects. The chains, though.
Chain is there. Fire as well. Not enough. Hurriwind stunned under the tower. The knockup's not there by Mike to keep him locked in. One more shot, though, from Vote will do it. Hurriwind steps too far forward into enemy lines and will pay the price because of it. 2 kills now for the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, that's a big stop. Hurry steps up too far. Beautiful CC chain there from Mike. And you give the kill over to Vote. I thought BaRRa might have been able to body block, but it was the enhanced auto attacks, and they do have an AoE effect, so even with the body blocks wouldn't have been enough. LASBRA finally gets a kill over and left his team, that is, and he decides he can step up for the shield buff. So he's going to send some pressure over. BaRRaCCuDDa's got beads, so no gank opportunity, but finally finds that gank over on the left side of the map. And Vote's beads are back up, so Scream doesn't even have that same opening. He can't go in for the gank on a Jing Wei. Vote's just going to be able to stay pretty far back over in this duo lane. Maybe you get a chance at fighting in the jungle. Hurriwind finds some chains, and it looks like that is the call for Scream.
But a double taunt by LASBRA, ultimate by Mike. We'll transport LASBRA right out. And one of the first times we've seen Mike use his ultimate this game. Gotta note, though, Trelly, I mean, with Hurriwind's active movement over on the left side of the map, never pulled a set of beads. At least with that last ultimate, both Mike and Vote, or at least Vote using his ultimate, Mike being pulled back in, so no real threat on the beads just yet, so feels like Scream and Hurriwind going to take a while before they can really benefit from one another being able to burn those relics.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit tankier, Hurriwind that is, to be the first one blinking into these fights. Because I already mentioned, the single target damage. LASBRA can just sit back, wait, and then lock down Hurriwind after the pull, you got yourself an easy pick if there's not the big burst damage following up that play. I think Hurriwind's got to be careful. This man steps up real far, gets CC chain underneath that tower again. Could be some trouble, and he's not going to walk under again this time around. So at least giving some respect over to PBM, who was able to lock him down and confirm that kill for Vote. I haven't seen the mid laners get active at all, right? It was a little bit of level 3 scrapping, but Dardez and Ven,
they're chilling.
They're just farming. I think Ven's trying to make some rotations over. He walked over to shield buff, got about halfway there, and decided to head on back to lane. But these mid laners have been working on, I suppose, the Bastion. That's about it. That's all the aggression we've been able to see from Morgan Le Fay and Agni. But Dardez and Ven do have good damage. They've got their Deso online, both going into what looks like Rod of Tahuti. They start swinging just before everyone else because they've got the most XP in the game at the moment. Level 12 for Ven, and Dardez, I assume, is following soon after.
Yeah, level 11 for the Morgan Le Fay. Well, it's mid laner's going to go ahead and start clearing out. Venenu having to do so from range with one of his bombs from ultimate. We'll be able to clear that one out. Dardez still not ticked over to 12 even with that wave. So definitely falling behind to Ven. The Highland Ravens in general, though, Trelly, have been able to get a little bit better farm than the Jade Dragons, about 1,500 up. Compared to the Dragons, we've seen a lot of the shield buffs go their way. We've seen a couple of invades towards over blue buff. Maybe just leaving Venenu by himself here in mid as long as possible is the game plan of the Ravens. Let this Agni get online. Because we've seen from some of our SPL mid laners just how much damage this Agni can do once you get that full build online. And it's the Gold Fury by the Ravens.
Gone.
Venenu will drop a couple of bombs, but the Jade Dragons standing around watching nothing happen as the Ravens pick up a Fury.
And that's the benefit of this Cernunnos. You have so much damage. Bear goes right into the Executioner, recognizes that, hey, we've got burn. I've got my AoE glaive auto attacks. We can go for a pull. And it's going to work out so far. Scream and LASBRA are scrapping over the shield buff, but it looks like even more damage happening towards BBM in mid. Hurriwind, I've been liking his play. He is not sitting back. He is not playing the defensive Ares game. He is constantly at the tower lines looking for chains, looking for pulling beads whenever possible. And if you're not playing Ares like this, I think you wasted a pick, right? You want to be getting these chains online. You are one of the strongest characters on the map when you have these chains like pre-level 12 before second relics come through. And Hurriwind's not sleeping on it. He's trying to get as much activity as he can. Throughout the entirety of this left side of the map. Haven't seen him go over towards Nika, of course, but rarely we see supports get active on that side of the map before a Pyromancer spawns in. But considering that, LASBRA had to go into the Magi's very early. Remember, in game number 1, it was the Glad Shield in this slot. He said, I need even more CC immunity. I need the beads, I need my ultimate, and I need a Magi's. But the Highland Ravens, they need to go for the Pyromancer.
The Ravens will get Pyro as Hurriwind continues to zone Dardez. And the rest of the Dragons out, stunned by PBM on Hurriwind, but Hurriwind will be just fine. Pops that bolster defense, gives him a lot of protections to stand back and keep the Jade Dragons at bay. So for the Highland Ravens, Charlie, I mean, they're able to sit back, passively farm up, get a lot of neutral XP, a lot of neutral gold on the map from Gold Fury, from Pyromancer, these shield buffs. This is exactly where the Ravens want to be. Taking a composition that the Dragons have to late game with what the Ravens have drafted. Is this exactly where they want to be? Is this slow-paced early, wait for late game style?
Yeah, I mean, the Highland Ravens have no problem. Like I said, their team fight is really where they are going to flourish. And so far, getting the better end of these trades is going to be a good look. Dardez has the ultimate, but PBM is also going to go into the ult to try and save his mid laner. It looks like LASBRA goes to the back line, though, with help from Nika.
Mike's going to crash in a little bit behind. Venenu caught out by himself and surrounded by 3, but now Votus made the rotation. Scream able to get the blink out. Hurriwind with a couple of chains. And all 5 of the Jade Dragons now standing by. No objective to do. Fury still down for a minute and a half. Pyro an extra minute beyond there. The Jade Dragons are able to find a pick on the mid laner.
They do, and look at the relics on the side of the Highland Ravens. Everything but BaRRaCCuDDa was used. I mean, that means the Jade Dragons will have the aggressive playstyle for the time being. You're down Ven for quite some time as well. That's a clutch rotation in. As you said, there's nothing to fight over here. The Oni Fury won't be up for another minute or so. But Nika makes the rotation over. Haddix comes through as well. Too little, too late. That's an easy pick. And that's going to be all the aggression we see from the Jade Dragons for the time being. But they know. Time to group up in the Oni Fury. I think they realized how quickly the Ravens have They've got the DPS to just burn through it if they don't have vision down or if they're not ready to rotate. Nika's teleport will be up in 30 seconds, so he will be able to join the fight, but Haddix is going to have to book it on foot all the way over. So probably just clear 1 to 2 waves back, and then head right towards this Oni Fury just to make sure that your solo laner is there. Because presence, relic-wise, in favor of the Jade Dragons for this pull.
Shield buff. Back and forth banter with the Hunters. Trying to secure that one through. Hurriwind steps up, shield buff to the Jade Dragons this time around. The Jade Dragons need every little bit they can get to bring themselves out of the small hole that has been dug so far by the Highland Ravens. Finding that pick has certainly slowed down the Ravens' momentum, but Venenu maybe privy to exactly the style of aggression that the Jade Dragons have. Takes the long path around to the Cyclops camp instead of cutting through at the top end. But Oni Fury is back. Jade Dragons have vision inside the pit this time thanks to the Oracle Harpies. So we shouldn't see another free objective go that way, but
he never left.
Tower be damned, the Jade Dragons will just walk right in, take down Venenu, and well, now it's the Dragons who can easily go for a Fury.
Yep, and that's why that first aggressive play makes so much sense. Ven's relics are still down for 30 seconds. They're able to sit there. LASBRA said, hey, I'm not going to move from this spot until we get an Agni. They fished and they caught him. Ven goes in, no relics for 20 more seconds. He falls down, and the Jade Dragons have the aggressive positioning towards this Oni Fury. They're not going to pull it yet, though. LASBRA was in mid trying to go for that tower, and it looks like they're not going to pull it at all. Ven's going to be up in 3 seconds with relics. It seems like a bit of a missed opportunity there as BaRRaCCuDDa gets aggressive. What are the Jade Dragons going to do with this lead? So far, nothing. I mean, it's back to being in favor of the Ravens because Ven's here. All of their relics are available. The one-man advantage you had is gone. Unless you can do something here with Haddix, which doesn't seem likely because Ven and Scream have made the rotation. Oni Fury going to be pulled here by the Ravens shoe.
A lot of damage taken by Scream, but Oni Fury now started up by the Ravens. BaRRaCCuDDa took the tier 1. Of course, long rotation in from both. The Jade Dragons now collapsing in. Nika still by. Haddix caught out by PBM. Hurriwind there for the bailout. Finds one chain, misses the second one. Well, I have to deal with the Morgan Le Fay clone left by Dardez. Let damage through. Hurriwind half HP. Unlikely that he'll want to jump in and be the one to start up this next fight, but the Oni Fury still under the watchful eye of the Ravens.
And all the while, LASBRA is not showing himself on the map, clearing everything over on the right side of the map. Finally says, hey, I'm over in red, I'm clearing your wave. And what do the Highland Ravens do? Do they immediately pull Oni Fury? No, they go back to farming. So LASBRA just very successful in finding farm in the midst of that fight, and he knew the Ravens aren't going to pull. They're not going to go for the siege. Even if they don't know where I am, they probably think I'm behind them. So I'm just going to take away their back camps, their blue buff, steal away as much farm as possible. You guys just let me know if the pull happens, and so far it hasn't. Scream stepping forward to PBM. No. They got a lot of damage.
Mike used his dash, goes for the ultimate. The damage is just enough, though. BaRRaCCuDDa takes him out. Scream pulls an ultimate away from Nika with his own powwow, and now that sets up for the Oni Fury. The Highland Ravens, who had lost a player earlier and were at a deficit trying to fight to the Fury, will now be able to pick that up for themselves. Oni Fury for the Highland Ravens. The Dragons try to answer with a Pyromancer or maybe a pick on a Haddix if they can. Taunt is good. Ultimate on top, but Haddix will pop the beads, walk immediately away. He's got the teleport to come back to this fight if need be. And that will be exactly what he does. Right back to base for Haddix.
Haddix is going to be able to teleport in. Hurriwind blinked on the vote and got the airstrike down, so Jing Wei's not going to be able to make her presence known. But LASBRA has a wraparound. The Jade Dragons steal the Pyro Wave. Here comes LASBRA.
LASBRA finds taunt onto just Hurriwind, but a chain connects on the LASBRA. He can't jump away. Ult from Dardez, but Haddix is back from the fight. Throws the boulder out. Gets a lot of damage to some of these backliners, but Haddix is now low. Not enough healing and sustain to stay alive. Pyromancer +1 to the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, the steal was unfortunate, but the fight after, that was always going to be the play there. LASBRA said, hey, you guys go in for as much damage as you can. I'm going for the wraparound. Ends up working out. Vote makes it back, and it looks like Tier 1 Tower is the call, as well as both Bastions, because Haddix isn't here to defend. BaRRaCCuDDa is actually on his way, trying to keep this tower alive, but Vote's got good enough damage that it should drop down for free. And that's going to be the end of the siege. Highland Ravens still ahead gold-wise, but the XP is also looking relatively good here for the Jade Dragons. 4K in their favor. I mean, that's just been walking up, stealing these objectives. Vote somehow 2-0. I think he's been relatively passive so far this game, but wants to get active whenever possible. And Hurriwind and BaRRa? I was going to say, there's no way they start autoing this, but they will.
You say that. The Highland Ravens do start at the fire, forces the Jade Dragons to respond, and respond the Dragons will do. Fire Giant now leashed. LASBRA nowhere in sight once again. Just kind of roaming through the jungle, grabbing whatever camps are available. He stole the Cyclops camp on the backside. Maybe even stole the speed buff as well. Grab the Harpy, wait for his opportunity. Who's going to be the one that sneaks up? Venenu by himself. He is playing around this pillar greatly. Screen teleports away. That leaves Venenu alone. Quick beads out by the Agni. But now LASBRA can't keep the fight going. And Scream grabs Dardez with the help of the rest of the team. There's 4 of the Highland Ravens over here on this left side of the map. And the Jade Dragons, they got nothing to respond back with.
I mean, LASBRA is always in the perfect position to make plays. Dardez is just too far up, and Nika, all the while, was trying to set up there.
Where's he going?
He was trying to set up there with LASBRA. He's like, oh, we're going on Ven. I got you. I'm behind. Doesn't work out, and now he's still behind Ven. Poor guy. Might be running into some CC, but he gets caught out, and now Nika's in some trouble. If he would be, if he doesn't have the CC, and it looks like Hurriwind plus some help from Haddix is going to dish out the CC.
Couple of chains and an ultimate. This time from Nika. PBM goes in for the heal, but Hurriwind goes with an ultimate of his own, pulls Nika right back in, and he'll fall down. Venenu taunted, has to use the Aegis. The damage from Airstrike is good, but not good enough to take him out. PBM does get the dash after he drops back from the sky. Venenu traded out a 1-for-1, but it's about to be 2. Mike finds a target to dash to, but now it's LASBRA in the middle of 4. Can he even get out of this one? BaRRaCCuDDa dashes back, and LASBRA may have just enough. A very slippery Serqet to run through, but Haddix is zooming on this. Hercules finds the pickup. The chain there, quick beats from LASBRA is enough to get him out as he's got it just to get away from the tail end.
Yeah, the only person with Blink was Scream, and he got so low. LASBRA picked a good target to try and use his damage on. Sends Scream back to base and is able to get out scot-free. I guess you use your beads in the process, so LASBRA did lose that CC immunity. The Highland Ravens are going to have Ven spawning back in. And it looks like Gold Fury's on the left side of the map. No one's going for it, right? It's uncontested at the moment because Fire Giant is such a threat. There is so much crit damage. There is so much objective burn from both these teams. We're 21 minutes in, and it's a threat. But it looks like BaRRaCCuDDa takes some good damage, and Hurriwind tried to step up to help him, and ends up walking into the CC of PBM. This Ares has to be careful positioning-wise. Has no relics for another 50 seconds. That value of being able to blink in and pull someone is going to be gone. LASBRA has beads down for another 2 minutes, but that Magi's comes up in 13 seconds. So unless that can be pulled by Venenu, who has the easiest time doing so, is going to be fearing this Ares as the Pyromancer goes down for the Jade Dragons for free. And Nika and PBM are going to have some runic bombs to their name, 2 in tow for the Jade Dragons.
Now the Dragons have been able to close up that lead that the Ravens established early on in the game. Scream on the Pal-Lao, immediately goes to Dardez, who will use the ultimate to get out of that one. And now it's Mike to the sky, will crash down and join LASBRA, who gets the pickup onto Scream. Boulder hits LASBRA to 1-for-1 trade out. Both junglers now out of the fight. Nika trying to find his path back out. Haddix misses the knock-up, and that's enough for Nika to be able to torrent away, dash out back to safety. 1-for-1 at the end of the day, but Mike is fishing for more.
Mike is fishing for more. He's behind. Vote's also there, but the Gold Fury seems to be their target. Unless the Highland Ravens immediately go for Fire Giant, this is a great call. BaRRaCCuDDa is still in base, so they aren't going to go for the immediate pull. It seems like enough time, especially with the movement that Vote can go for if he goes back to base and flies through. But Fire Giant is the call. The Highland Ravens are here. They hear that Fury go down, and they are immediately going to start the pull. Haddix is playing zone duty. Who's going to get here first? Nika's going to step forward.
BaRRa's doing a lot of damage to Fire. Half HP on the objective. Vote has landed back from his passive. Mike and Nika and Dardez have got to do some damage to try and steal this one away. Ultimate from Nika. The Dragons steal away the Fire Giant. A pull-in by Hurriwind, but Haddix is the one now on the run. Damage from Dardez hits through to BaRRaCCuDDa, who stands his ground for only a moment later until he's forced back out of the fight. The Ravens go for a risky fire, and they lose it to the Dragons.
Yeah, the Ravens were going for a bait, though. They dropped it. It was the Jade Dragons who picked up that fire and said, hey, we'll 50-50. We're down to play. Once Nika goes into the storm call, big silence. I think Ven dropped 2 bombs in the flame wave and just had to hope that he could go for that confirmation. But that was the Jade Dragons saying, yeah, we're down to 50-50. You guys are going to do 90% of the work. Sure, we'll pick it up and let's see what happens. That coin ends up landing in their favor. And now the Dragons, with their gold lead with fire on 5, are able to push up and start taking down the last of the tier 1s. Only one more over on left. And the tier 2s. I think BaRRaCCuDDa has been quite the threat here. The Cernunnos has been dishing out a lot of damage. And he's been frontlining more often than not towards these jungle fights. Everyone else is retreating and BaRRa's standing his ground. He's going to grab the tier 1 over on right and head back to base. I think the defense is still strong. He's actually not heading back to base. Nika wants to make the rotation over. If BaRRa gets caught out, that'd be bad for the team. And it looks like he's going to recognize someone could be coming in full-on retreat here. But still, the siege potential for the Jade Dragons is difficult. They don't have that double hunter composition they had in game number 2. It's pretty much just Nika and LASBRA going to blink to the backline and try and create space. All the while, Mike is going to CC for his team. Tier 1 goes down. We'll have to see if they decide to push in for Tier 2. They only have a minute 16 left. Not too much time to try and siege here.
No, not long for the Jade Dragons. Being able to knock down a couple of towers at least. Try and get some value from the gold. 8k XP meaning a little bit less. BaRRaCCuDDa never got back to base. Has the beads up against LASBRA, and that should be a dead Cernunnos. They just used, but not going to be good enough. Nika and LASBRA team up to take down BaRRaCCuDDa. Now it's 50 seconds without the hunter of the Highland Ravens. This should be the call for the Dragons to start knocking down more towers.
Yep, tier 2 over on left. BaRRa gets caught out. He had plenty of damage. He almost returned the kill, but because Nika was there, helped out. LASBRA gets the kill. He's able to continue fighting. And actually, Scream was waiting for this play. He's got damage, but look at the crits. Oh my goodness, Scream wins that, but it was closer than it should have been.
Way too close between Scream and Laz. Now Hurriwind finds 2 chains up against his opposition, but Venenu is the one who's really in danger. It's a collapsing in by the Dragons to find pick after pick on the backliners of the Ravens. The Dragons, only a few seconds left on fire, will not stick around for the continued siege attempt. They found their picks, and they will march their way back to their own respective base. Spend up some of the gold in pocket as well. A 5,000 gold lead for the Dragons to start this one out. I say that, we're 26 minutes through. And Charlie, the name of the game for these two teams has been around these sieges. With the lead the Dragons have, how does the composition like this one siege into the Highland Ravens?
Well, like I said, they've got the blink potential, but I still think their comp succeeds in single target picks. That's what, you know, the analysis has not changed. LASBRA still is going to blink in, try and get some CC. If not, you want to stay back. PBM is going to mirror that process. You go for one pick. Once you do, you got a 5v4. You continue that same play. It does get more difficult, though, when you with the Phoenix involved. Once you have to try and dive, a Horus play may be your best option. PBM takes a wave of minions. Says, hey, we're going left, we're going right, we're going mid, you have to guess. If you get there in time, could be trouble. Speaking of picks, Haddix taking a lot of damage. This time, though, no anti-heal. So mitigate wounds is going to be just fine in keeping him sustained up. If LASBRA did ult him there, that could have been trouble.
Haddix lives, and Vote will solo out the Fury on the left side. So the Ravens know that at least one person was not there for that fight, but not much they can do at the moment. Maybe get some vision established as Hurriwind walks up and drops a ward over the top right side of the Fire Giant pit. So the Highland Ravens still with plenty of time for a defense. Fire Giant being back up means that our next fighting area has been simplified for us. It's can you find a pick and then immediately start at the Fire Giant. The Jade Dragons unable to get vision up to the backside near the Highland Ravens at the least. So unaware of where all the Ravens are fully standing through. Haddix spots out LASBRA, but not much that Haddix can do against the slippery Serqet.
Yep, gotta let her go. LASBRA's going to constantly be on the left side of the map, take that shield buff, take the chest, you know, look for ganks whenever possible. Remember, this is what happened in game number 1, where he had that wraparound play. He one-shot BaRRa, one-shot Ven. Those sort of plays can still happen here with this build. The Serqet has not changed. Has Deathbringer, has Serrated, has the Protector of the Jungle. You're fighting him around Fire Giant, it's going to be scary. Unfortunately, Ven has been the target of a lot of the aggression here from the Jade Dragons. This Agni has not been able to free cast, and because of that, lower on the damage numbers for the time being. But still does have that same level of output that Dardez has. I mean, you're missing the Spear of the Magus, you have the Soul Reaver, you got some good damage in tow. So you just got to watch out for how much he's able to do, just like that. And the poke can really start to add up.
Haddix, again trying to find LASBRA, but unable to take him this time through. It's the Ravens who have pressure in the Fire Giant pit as they're able to get themselves set up and get prepped for fire. The Jade Dragons have not made an aggressive move towards the Fire Giant. This is giving time for the Ravens to set up, get a little bit of extra farm. Haddix has been able to get plenty of waves in mid while keeping eyes on LASBRA. The Ravens start up the Fire Giant. They 50-50 the last time. The Dragons were the ones who came up heads on the coin flip. With a wrap around the back, LASBRA and Nika collapse on a BaRRaCCuDDa. Nowhere for the carry to go as he's been double ulted. The Aegis may have just bought him enough time, but with Vote dashing in, that will be one, but LASBRA falls to the boulder after. Hurriwind goes to the ultimate, but he's pulled 3 people immediately to him. Up onto the Powwow goes Scream to deal with Dardez, but will not be able to pull the carry. And Haddix has dealt with these backliners no problem. Dardez in the ultimate trying to run as fast as he can, but he and the rest of his team are so low on HP. The Dragons are just trying to get out of this fight.
Haddix is really low too. He's trying to go in for the pull. It's only Ven who has a health bar to try and use. I think the Ravens should be trying to retreat here, and that is the call. Scream went back to base. He's got full HP. Hurriwind is still sieging forward though. This is so dangerous for both of these squads.
Venenu got clipped though by the damage of Dardez. Scream has found PBM, who will dash back to Nika, but Hurriwind goes back in. It's an aggressive play by both of them. Nika trying to deal with Venenu, but the bombs are too much damage. Venenu finds his 2nd kill of the game. And the Highland Ravens in such a scattered fight, a 2-for-1 to start this out. A push by Haddix, the boulder is back. Not enough damage to get the 2nd tap to Dardez this time through. Haddix full HP on the Hercules. He is zoning the Dragons away from this objective.
Now you got the grouping. Nika's gone for 40. This should be an enhanced Fire Giant call here for the Highland Ravens. How easy can you pull it though? Just Scream and Haddix here for now. Carries are on the way, but Hurriwind is going to be lagging behind a fair bit as the siege starts up. The Fire Giant is going to be the call, but look at Scream. He's hiding. He wants to try and find a pick. Vote doesn't have airstrike available. He could be the target.
PBM and Vote trying to find a way in the pit. Scream vying for a way into this fight. The dash has already been used by Vote. Hurriwind and Highland Ravens get the Fire Giant. Vote nearly taken out of this fight. Mike does end up getting his bubble pop, so he doesn't get pulled back in by the Powwow, but the Highland Ravens have taken all 5 to get the Fire Giant this time through.
And finally we get time to analyze that fight because it starts horribly for the Highland Ravens. I mean, Nika and Scream, or Nika and LASBRA in this case, both get to BaRRA. They pull both relics, but the Aegis was timed so perfectly. He stalled out so much damage that the boulder is actually able to kill LASBRA starting off that siege. Vote dashes in, finally picks off BaRRA, but because it takes so long, because the fight was so staggered, you get the reset. Scream goes back to base, comes back. Haddix gets the teleport back in. And then, of course, Nika overstays his welcome and falls down. And because of that one-man advantage, the Highland Ravens are able to go for the enhanced Fire Giant. But, J-Mac, that fight starts at 29:50. We're almost it's almost 4 minutes later. You know, it was a long scrap at that point. And because of that long nature of the fight, BaRRa's relics are coming off cooldown. His Aegis is up now. I mean, this was a long scrap. And it's already beginning on the left side. Now, this is an enhanced Fire Giant. There are still tier 1s to be played with in the mid tower. I'm thinking the Highland Ravens want to take this one a bit slower, just because their relics are coming back up. You know, wait for Ven's beads at least. That's 12 seconds away. And probably take the tier 1 off the map before you're thinking about going in for the birds.
Turnaround Bastion pop there for Scream. He and Haddix started over towards mid, but now it's a funneling to the left side of the map.
LASBRA's
Dardez
pushing mid.
is by himself. Hurriwind goes in aggressively. Doesn't get anything away from Dardez this time through. Now a group up of the Dragons and Hurriwind. About a quarter of his HP taken away from soaking up damage from not just Dardez, but the Phoenix too. Highland Ravens, a 5-man stack on the left side. Enhanced Fire means that BaRRaCCuDDa can just bat away at the Phoenix's health little by little. The Highland Ravens taking their time. Keep your eyes on LASBRA though. He's the one hunting for his opening to get to this back line. BaRRaCCuDDa Hurriwind hit by the damage of LASBRA. Not enough to scare the Ravens away just yet.
Hurriwind sieging forward, doesn't have too much HP and has to juke out the fear from Dardez. All the while, LASBRA takes some damage and he actually gets blown up. So much CC, this is what I'm talking about. Ares can't be the single frontliner. Haddix got targeted out, and now it's the Jade Dragons who are able to siege forward. They're not going to chase too far. I'm surprised the Highland Ravens, number one, forced that left side bird so hard, considering there was still a tier 1, a tier 2, still two 2s available over on left and mid. I guess they just really wanted to break the base because your next enhanced fire giant becomes so much easier if you get that Phoenix down. But Hurriwind can't be the one to try and tank it up. He actually went for Spear of the Magus in that last slot. I think Hurriwind's single job is to be annoying and tanky, and Spear of the Magus is not going to cut it. He has no CC immunity. I mean, Dardez just fears him back into Phoenix. LASBRA's there as well. Your Ares dies, and that's the issue with this composition. Late game, Ares falls off. He's not going to have that same level of value. Hurriwind's going to have to try and get tankier real quick, or else those sieges aren't going to go the same.
Venenu on the Agni was bullied out pretty hard in the early game. He's had a little bit of a comeback wave, leading damage for his team at the moment. Being a little bit outshined by Dardez on the Morgan Le Fay's damage, at least for now. But now that we are 6th slot for these mages, we see just how much damage Venenu can do. We've seen it multiple times so far over the course of week 1 of the SPL, just what an Agni can do late game if left unchecked. So far, Charlie, the Dragons have done a great job of keeping Venenu and keeping BaRRaCCuDDa in check during these team fights.
They have. Getting to the backline has been the call. LASBRA's always trying to find a wraparound. He's never letting Barra and Ven just free cast the fight away. Haddix said, hey, I'm watching your back, though, bud. Don't worry. I'm going to make sure no Serqets are sneaking around for the time being. BaRRaCCuDDa and Hurriwind both take a good bit of poke there from Dardez. Have to watch out. This Morgan Le Fay is top of the damage charts for a reason. She's got big range and plenty of poke damage if you're stepping up. But we're at another enhanced fire giant dance. Pretty much every relic is available except for Screammm's beads on the left side and PBM's bracer, which will be up in about 10 seconds. I don't know who gets the edge in this fight, though. I mean, in the jungle, this is where this pick style of composition the Jade Dragons have really does benefit them. They just have to hit one CC ability and they can just blow someone up. Pull a Magi's, pull a Beads down, and LASBRA's got 100 to 0 capabilities. Dardez has been able to stay relatively safe in the backline. It's anyone's game, but you have to watch your positioning so much here. One missed ability, or one hit ability, I guess, in this case, and you could be deleted.
Keeping a lot of eyes on Hurriwind to start this fight out for his team. He'll go in, find a blink chain on Dardez, but now it's LASBRA looping back around to BaRRaCCuDDa once more. Boulder is through. 1-for-1 trade out. Venenu gets one, but crashed in now by PBM. To rejoin the front line, Hurriwind has been caught out. No ultimate available. Scream on the Pow Lao. What can he do? Not enough damage. Take out Dardez instead of the turnaround back. Venenu has got to get some backup, and luckily he's got Haddix to deal with Dardez in the back line. Knock up onto Nika. Push just off the mark. And it's a 1-for-2 trade for the Ravens.
They've got sustain, though, and Boat is full HP. Where is Scream going to decide to go in? He was hiding in the jungle, didn't step up, and the Jade Dragons are going to be able to grab that Pyromancer. Once again, BaRRaCCuDDa is the target. He dishes out so much damage and didn't even get to use Aegis. If he did, I think the Highland Ravens win that fight handedly. They still make out better, 4-3 kills-wise, but they weren't able to grab the Pyromancer. Vote stays relatively untouched at full HP, and now they're able to sit around this Enhanced Fire Giant for a little bit longer. It's going to take a while for LASBRA to join the fight, though. He's still 10 seconds out, but he's got so much mobility. I don't think the Highland Ravens are even going to feel confident enough to pull the Enhanced Fire Giant with this lead they have.
Highland Ravens. We approach the 38-minute mark. One team fight that goes astray could very well end this game. Venenu wants to start things out with a little bit of poke. Does manage to find at least the stun and the follow-up bomb onto PBM. PBM, though, on the Horus with a very low cooldown on that heal will be able to keep himself topped up. Fire Giant started by the Highland Ravens. Hurriwind with a couple of chains to the back line. Fire Giant under half HP. BaRRaCCuDDa still critting around. The Jade Dragons, they can take the fire back through. It's going to be a fight for the fire. The Ravens do get it. Boulder hits through. LASBRA losing the 1v1 against Scream. The Pow Lau's damage is not enough, but Scream can still continue to chase in. Meanwhile, into the back line, Nika and Hurriwind both low. Dardez throws out the ultimate to try and go through. Scream cannot find the kill up against LASBRA. Haddix dashes in, just misses Dardez with the bubble. But now it's screened to the backline. A blink through 3. The fire is doing so much damage. It's 1 for 1 through. And Vote used the ultimate to get out. But Mike and Nika, they're both low. And Haddix just wants one knockup if he can find it, but he just can't close the gap.
LASBRA's here though, full HP. Scream could have made a massive rotation in, but that fire blink unfortunately cost him too much damage. Left side tier 2 goes down, and LASBRA has the gank opportunity. Who's he going to try and delete? It looks like he's going for BaRRa.
Does blink right through though, and the fire trail is doing a lot to Hurriwind, who goes down. Fire now from Venenu as he dashes out, but the Dragons will not continue their chase into the jungle. PBM still holding on, but Vote not going to stick with him. He'll head back to base. The Ravens, they lose 2 on the push.
They lose 2. Nika has to teleport in, and Mike has ultimate. He's channeling who's coming. It looks like Vote. He's trying to bring him towards BaRRaCCuDDa. Someone's got to help this ADC get out, but the blink in. BaRRa's got to try and fight.
Oh, but Venenu's going to go down in trade of this one. BaRRaCCuDDa's lifesteal keeps him alive just a while longer. Nika can't find the kill, but Venenu caught out. That's 65 seconds. Without the mid laner, 30 seconds. Without Hurriwind, it's going to be a 4 versus 3 if the Dragons decide to push in, but it'll just be the tier 2 tower plus Venenu for the fight. The Jade Dragons still able to punch back against the Ravens.
They still have EFG on 2 for another minute 20, but Primal Fury will go down here for the Jade Dragons. There's just no appeal, and this is the other issue with Ares compositions. BaRRaCCuDDa has been taking so much flack in the backline. It's just been LASBRA beelining for this Cernunnos. I think with the damage BaRRa is doing and how well he's been playing, he should be able to carry this game, but he can't because there's no peel. I mean, Haddix is going in, trying to set up for the team, trying to initiate, but it's just not really what Ares is for. He's going to provide chains, he's going to provide damage, hopefully CC, but he's not going to stop you from diving as Cernunnos. That just doesn't happen. Scream had a great fight there, but unfortunately spent so much time chasing down LASBRA when he could have been helping out the team. That could have been GG if played differently. But it seems like we're setting up for another enhanced fire giant, J-Mac. It's close. The gold lead is essentially non-existent. Everyone's upgraded relics. Everyone's full build. 3K pots in tow for Vote. This Jing Wei is going to be absolutely swinging, pretty much critting every single auto attack. And the mages, at the top of the damage chart so far, Dardez and Ven have just been providing that poke for their team and trying to stay alive. It's just, can LASBRA successfully 100-0 BaRRa? He hasn't been able to do it the past 2 fights, but he's been getting close. We'll see what happens in this fight. I mean, it's just the same fight over and over again.
We return to the tango around the fire. At least maybe in about 45 seconds whenever it crashes back down. For now, it's ward establishment for the Highland Ravens. And I think you maybe put it there perfect, Charlie, where because of the nature of Hurriwind's pick, this Ares wants to get to the back line of the enemy team. BaRRaCCuDDa and Venenu, honestly, both of them have really been an easy target for LASBRA and Nika to just dive onto. The double death ball of that squad has really made it difficult for the Highland Ravens to find success in the team fighting stage. Fire up in 11 seconds. Pyromancer for the Highland Ravens. But it's all going to come down to the fight around that objective.
Scream has that spectral armor. He's trying to get to Vote. He's 5-0. This Jing Wei has not died yet this game. Someone's going to have to deal with Vote. Unfortunately, Scream doesn't want to take that title. He's like, I'd rather kill the guys that I can. LASBRA's hiding as per usual. Over on the left side of the map, trying to find a wraparound. He wants to go the whole way around, as he has been doing, trying to get to BaRRaCCuDDa. An enhanced fire giant is here. It's all going to be CC, as we said. I think PBM without blink can't set up too much. He wants to sit and see who steps up. Haddix has been popping that regrowth, trying to see who he can knock up towards him. And that's been the play more often than not. That's been what's starting these sieges. A blink in from Hurriwind, hit some chains, and just sort of siege forward. But you'll see, once Hurry goes in, just watch Nika and LASBRA. They almost pass each other on the way in. It's just, oh, you're going in, we're going in too. We'll see you at BaRRa. You have fun in the back line. All the while, Haddix is on LASBRA duty. This Hercules has not been looking for pulls. He's been watching his back line. Someone has to save BaRRa, and it looks like it's Haddix.
Mike pulled back by Haddix. Hurriwind pulls an ultimate and a set of beads away as well. Now with those gone away from Vote, it's the call for Scream, but he's going to get the airstrike out of Vote this time. A pull back onto Nika, who will barely make it back through. Mike able to heal him through. And Haddix all the while fighting Dardez and LASBRA. Taunted back in by Laz. A quick beats to get him away and a bubble pop in return. The Highland Ravens, they've only lost out on 2 of their relics. Meanwhile, they've taken some crucial ones from the Jade Dragons. The Fire Giant is low. Another 50-50 attempt around the objective. Venenu finds a kill. The Dragons get the Fire Giant away, but can the Dragons get out of the fight? Haddix wants that one pickup. Who will he find it on? No one. Mike goes back in to bail him out, and Haddix is forced out of the fight.
And that's going to be it. Jade Dragons, they're able to steal. They lose LASBRA in the process, but are they going to chase? The Jade Dragons are looking towards it. Scream is in the back line, and they've sought this out. How much chase down potential do they have? None. They're not going to go for it. I really thought Scream might have been caught out there. EFG on 4. The Highland Ravens, if I'm the Highland Ravens, I'm setting up an ambush somewhere. It's a 5v4. You are in a terrible spot if LASBRA joins back in and they're able to push. I'm heading right for that Fury, and that seems to be the call. Haddix is leading the charge. You have your opportunity. PBM, by the way, plays that perfectly. The second he realizes EFG goes down, he's to the skies. He says, get on. We are leaving. We are not looking to fight. I am getting you as far out as possible. It's 45 minutes into this game. The smallest misplay can lose us. We are making sure we get out with this enhanced Fire Giant. But it looks like the Highland Ravens are not going to fight. They're going to let LASBRA spawn in. They're going to let the Jade Dragon siege forward with this enhanced Fire Giant. And now they're going to try their hand at a defense. I think they're still feeling their odds because it's been difficult for the carries to die. But the Jade Dragons could say the same thing. I mean, 5-0 for Vote. It was, oh, beads down. Okay, next ult. Okay, airstrike down. No one else has gotten to him since. They just have to use so much of their initiation just to pull relics off of Vote that once they actually get that airstrike down, there's nothing left. You can't close gap anymore. You don't play a 46-minute game as an ADC and go 5-0 without phenomenal support from your team, but also just good positioning. I think PBM has been on point with his peel this game.
Charlie?
Yeah.
I think we're going to another enhanced Fire Giant, man.
Oh, for sure.
Because Jade Dragons is the furthest up on the map they've gone, that halfway line.
Yeah.
This Pyromancer's about to respawn, so no further siege. Maybe criminal that there's still 2 towers standing on the map for how long and for how back and forth this game has been. But the Dragons content with their Fire Giant steal, only losing LASBRA for it. They'll move over and maybe remove one of those last standing structures. They're not going to have long after if they want to push in.
Mike could ult.
To the Phoenix. There's a hefty minion wave there.
There it is.
Mike's going to channel the ultimate. Can he get a minion there in time? Yes, he will. Where will the crash down be? Will it be in mid? Will it be in left? It will be in mid, but only Mike went there. It was a fake out. And instead now it's Hurriwind finding the ult on to 3. Nika pushed in, but the Phoenix is gone.
Oh, it's gone!
Gets a shutdown on the Vote, and that's a big start. But the Highland Ravens can't go much further. Nika does go down. He gets caught out by the Palau, pulled back in. It's 70 seconds till they're back up. The Ravens have got to pull something from this.
Haddix is making sure LASBRA doesn't split push, and they're going to run it down mid. This is the perfect call. As you said, so much time on these respawns, and they have plenty of time. They've got minions. As long as Haddix makes sure LASBRA is not going for that left side bird, he can teleport in. Does anyone have a ward? They do. It looks like they've got the teleport possibilities. LASBRA was not stopped, so Haddix is going to have to join in the old-fashioned way, but they've got plenty of siege potential. They could just walk in. I'm thinking they're going to go for the end here.
Tier 2 tower gone. Phoenix getting a little bit of extra attack speed there with Mike. Has that Emperor's armor. Dardez from the side trying to bring damage, but Haddix will zone him away. LASBRA cannot get through. The Phoenix is down. It is 20 seconds until Vote is back. 25 until Nika returns. The Highland Ravens, do they do it twice in one set? Venenu shut down.
Dead.
Hurriwind shut down. Dardez used the Aegis and he pushes Scream against the wall. Dardez defends the base. The Jade Dragons in a 3v5 have held it back. Dardez will not get the triple kill this time through, but he has done more than enough work for LASBRA to walk back in with Mike, and they'll take down Haddix. It'll take him a while to do so, but the Dragons defend their base.
That is insane. LASBRA's ultimate does so much damage there, and Hurriwind is too squishy. I don't know why he's got Spirit Magus. He barely did more damage than Mike. I don't understand the build. I'm maybe harping on it a little bit too much, but that front line was not enough. It just seemed like there wasn't enough peel. Nika's able to teleport in, and that is a miracle base save by the Jade Dragons. Insane play. from LASBRA. And the fact that Dardez lives is also nuts. When I saw Vote get shut down, I thought this game was over.
Had me thinking it might have been too. But the Jade Dragons base defense, the Morgan Le Fay, LASBRA on the Serqet, and this Horus is just enough for the Jade Dragons to defend against the full force of 5 from the Highland Ravens. The undefeated streak ended here by the Dragons in Game 3.
And you were right. I thought we were going towards another Enhanced Fire Giant, but with To the Skies, the Jade Dragons decided they wanted another siege, and 3v5. They're able to defend underneath their base. I think just taking a little bit too much damage onto that Phoenix, and also, I'm going to have to watch your back. I got to see how Dardez lived, because that was insane.
Yeah, Dardez goes crazy, finds a double kill, shoves Screammmmm up against the wall with that Dragonflight, and that's curtain calls on the jungler, and then from there, bought just enough time for his team to wrap back over and find the kill on the last surviving member of the Highland Ravens. No longer undefeated are the Ravens. It's the Jade Dragons standing tall with their win in Game number 3. That's it for me and Charlie. We'll throw it to the desk to break it down.
That's against all odds after what Mifflin described as the worst display of drafting he has ever seen.
Not all that. I thought it was a pretty big draft diff. I'll stand by it.
Yeah, but there were the moments where I think you could see where the Ravens draft was stronger, a little bit better. But you could also see the moments where the Ravens weren't exactly playing their draft in maybe the way that they had designed it. A bunch of individual picks really cost them early in this game. That said, there's still a base defense that has to happen. The Ravens nearly end this game, but the Dragons find a way to stay alive and completely flip the script.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to bring up the picks. That's what slows down the mid-game to like the late, early game. I just did not love the unwillingness for the Highland Ravens to group up as 5. I felt like that's where this composition really would have shined. BaRRaCCuDDa gets picked out a few times. Felt like Haddix was out of position a few times as well. Then maybe frontlining in these team fights a little bit too much. And it allowed the Jade Dragons essentially to bypass the weaknesses of their draft, or maybe the counter matchups that they were forced to play into. Because at no point was there really a true 5-on-5. It felt like 4v3 led to a pick. It was always a 1-for-1 trade. And then the 4v4, maybe the Jade Dragons fared just a little bit better. But play on field, I think, where the Highland Ravens maybe do a little bit of self-reflection if they watch this one back. Compositionally, I feel like they did just fine. Jade Dragons, though, obviously deserve every bit of credit. The defense was just perfect from them. Everything lines up. The Highland Ravens getting hit by every little bit of damage out there. I mean, Dardez just pumping out everything he needs to. And barely survives at the end of the day as well. The Jade Dragons, that is mental fortitude to stick in there.
Agreed, and that's what we were wondering if we would see from this Jade Dragons team, because it's, I mean, the storyline has been, it's this core of 3 that have tried to make things work together for a few years. You add in a couple new pieces, and initiators. It's a very important piece of your team to add in. Would they fall prey to similar mistakes? And you know, we've seen some moments where that might be the case. However, in games like this, I think you're seeing why this Jade Dragons roster may, in fact, work. One of those new pieces, although he's only a remaining member of the actual Jade Dragons, to this core of the team is PolarBearMike, standing by for the post-game interview.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I got PBM with me, the support for the Jade Dragons, still carrying the Jade Dragons moniker at the very least. Mike, kind of talk to me through that set. Game number 1, you guys are winning through. The Ravens fight back. They get the 1 team fight, the 1 siege defense to live through. What's kind of going through y'all's minds for Game 2 to maybe try and remedy some of those issues from Game 1?
Really, we weren't too worried about it. We felt like we liked the spot we were in, and we felt like the way we were playing against them was going to be successful. Call a spade, my carries into the siege in Game 1. You know, let's just say what it is. They died without it, I guess. It happens sometimes, you know. I've freaked many of plays, many times, you know, and just it happens.
Now, run me through the base defense of Game number 3, because you guys try and go for a siege to the end, you ult in. It's just you who goes over to the left side, kind of pump fake the enemy team. Even us on the cast, we're like, okay, Mike's gonna bring the team and the minions over, and all of a sudden it's just you. Everybody sieges right, you lose 2. You go back for the defense. Talk me through that base defense for your squad.
Yeah, the base defense was pretty hectic. We kind of wanted Dardez to be able to get a flank. I think Haddix did a nice job of getting on him initially, and their team was a little bit spread. I think, honestly, I think Last just made a crazy play. He distracted like 3 people on him. I ended up cleaning up the Agni with him, but I don't know. Dardez like 1v5. He's just my goat.
Yeah, Dardez really did pull through there. Well, Mike, you still got another game to go for this week, and obviously still future weeks to go. what's maybe some of the things for your team, besides your carries to no longer int in your games, what are some things for the Jade Dragons to work on for matches in the future?
No, I mean, I'm just messing with them. We're just trying to work on our style. We still haven't figured it out. We still have, of course, Dardez on ping, unfortunately. So trying to figure out some things with him and just how we all want to play together, try to draft, and mainly we're just trying to play clean into the late game. A lot of really slow games, but everyone knows I need the practice on that, so I'm happy with how things are going.
Well, if a man on ping can do something like that, can't wait to see what Dardez can do in the studio. Mike, congrats on the win. You just shut down the Highland Ravens on their undefeated streak. We'll let you get out of here. We'll throw back to Des to keep it going.
That's right. And now maybe a new winning streak built up for the Jade Dragons.
Mike's different, man.
Built different, right?
I said what I meant, Mike. Get out of here. Scram.
And what did you mean?
He's different.
That provides no additional clarity. That is our first best of 3 of the day. We've got 2 more around the corner. Could be a long day of SMITE if these matches live up to the expectations. Our next one, Atlantis Leviathans Gilded Gladiators, followed by the Camelot Kings versus the Eldritch Hounds. 2 of those teams will start off our day tomorrow on Sunday. Jade Dragons back in action against the Oni Warriors, and an anticipated matchup, Styx Ferryman v. Highland Ravens. But Myth, our eyes turn towards the next matchup, one you and I will be casting.
Spoilers.
You're right. I'm sorry. I peeled back the curtain a bit. And it's important because of exactly what you see here. And teams sort of scratching and clawing their way to find their first win over on the Chaos side. If you're looking at the Atlantis Leviathans versus the Gilded Gladiators. I'm not sure many would have predicted an 0-3 start for the Leviathans. We knew there would be struggles for the Gilded Gladiators. One of these 2 teams will escape our next set with a win, and we'll talk more on that in a moment. Worth mentioning the Highland Ravens, they lose their first set, so they fall to 2-1. Jade Dragons improve to 2-1. But Myth, admittedly, if we look at Leviathans v. Gladiators, I would not have expected this to be a matchup of winless teams 3 games into the season for these squads.
Yeah, I mean, projections for the Good Gladiators, maybe you've got them there, maybe you don't. I think a lot of the analysts here probably expected a shaky start for the Good Gladiators. The Atlantis Leviathans, though, they don't have the, okay, well, we're world champions right now. You know, we're going to take it easy in Phase 1. That's not the case anymore. These are challengers once more, trying to lift the hammer and have it on their side. So you'd expect them to try and put their best foot forward in early phases. We'll see whether or not they've just been unlucky in their matchups or whether or not this is a team that is really struggling to find their identity here in Year X. So I'm really excited for this one. It is a massive heat check for the Leviathans in particular. I think the onus is on them in this matchup.
And as we just talked about with Dardez, worth mentioning, Shinto hasn't been able to make it into studio yet. But for Rongyu, Zapman, and Shinto, think about how their Worlds run ended immediately at Worlds.
Abruptly.
And now 0-3 to start off the year in Season 10. Something's got to change for this Leviathans team. Could it happen next against the Gilded Gladiators, our second matchup of the day, coming up next.